While hanging out with his buddies playing marbles and horseplay, this guy suddenly gets summoned by some goddess to a bizarre fantasy world, all while his friends are super excited. When it comes to being legendary heroes unlike the others, Hansu thinks, a bunch of kids who can't even take care of their own crap. What kind of heroes are they supposed to be? So he asks the goddess to send him back to Earth. The goddess gets annoyed but doesn't say a word. She opens a space portal and calmly declares, Kang Hansu, you are not fit for a place reserved for great heroes, so you must leave at once. Hansu steps through the portal without hesitation, thinking he's about to return to his beloved Earth, but nope. He gets dumped into a dark, gloomy, overgrown forest. Hansu, still not grasping the situation, stays super optimistic, figuring he just got left somewhere a bit far from school. A strange noise comes from behind him. Thinking someone has arrived, he excitedly turns around, ready to ask for directions, but finds 3 giant monsters staring him down with eyes that are literally hungry. One of them is even carrying an elf who is gasping for air. Hansu's legs turn to jelly, and after a moment he finally realizes what's going on. He grabs his pants and runs for his life. Only now does he realize that the goddess lady was just a kidnapper using students to solve her world's problems. A kidnapper who calls herself a goddess, there's no way she was ever going to keep her word. In another turn of events after Hansu left, the remaining students were taken by the fake goddess to the town of San Chiori in Prolucina, where the saintess we mentioned was already waiting. Just like the fake goddess, the saintess looks beautiful with a gentle smile warmly welcoming the heroes. But the thing that really catches the girl's eyes is the guy standing behind her who looks as handsome as a movie star. I am the saintess of this temple, she says. I have received the oracle from the goddess, so I have been waiting here to welcome you all. And this is... She gestures toward the handsome guy. Seeing that he bows aristocratically and introduces himself, it is an honor to meet you all heroes. I am the sword saint and prince of the kingdom. Mazda from the Northern Territory. Answer short, Mazda. The ladies' hearts start racing, thinking they've hit the jackpot. Besides being a prince, he's also the one in charge of teaching swordsmanship to the heroes. The saintess looks around as if searching for someone. Then she turns back and asks the attendant, has the princess not arrived yet? One maid looks at the saintess's cold expression and stammers, that is... Just then, a girl dressed entirely in pink from head to toe bursts through the door yelling, I'm sorry I was so drunk I overslept. I'm Princess Athela. Being honest is good, but sometimes it's not really helpful. You didn't have to say it like that. I did it wrong again, huh? The princess says this while tripping over her own feet. She ends up falling flat on her bottom. It hurts. I'm not making excuses, okay? Before coming here, I tripped. Athena, amazing princess of the amazing kingdom, the one in charge of teaching magic to the heroes, tries to save face. The heroes stare at Athena, and some can't hold back squealing, the princess is so cute, fantasy is awesome. She is the princess of the amazing kingdom in the south, Princess Athena Amazing. She and Prince Ansis will assist you all, the saintess announces. Then she starts activating the system for the heroes. Whoa, it really has a status window just like a kid's game. Hansu starts playing with the system. Opening the window, he sees his skills and level. Let's see. Blessing, curse, blessing rate. I get the first 2, but what's with the rest? First, let's just click blessing and see what happens. Hero's blessing. Automatically translates languages of species friendly to the hero. Experience gained from hunting and achievements will be greatly increased. Automatic translation, that's fancy. But how much does the experience actually increase? Still, if there's no level cap, this is a pretty good effect. There are plenty of other rivals getting similar blessings. Hansu mutters to himself, then instinctively glances at Choi Kang-min. Choi Kang-min studies the system for a moment and starts asking questions. Saintess, may I ask a question? The goddess said we must be blessed by the gods. How do we do that? That's a good question. The saintess smiles and replies, to receive a blessing, you must earn the favor of the gods. Every god has different standards. Immediately, the heroes receive a series of notifications regarding the presence of the gods, as well as messages from the gods sent to them. The saintess then continues to explain, every god has their own standard, but they all hope to find someone who can defeat the Demon King. Does anyone have any questions? Kamen looks at the others who are silent and answers for them. I think that's enough for now. The gods up there are still watching you, but remember that the favor of the gods can be fleeting. I wish you all success in receiving the gods' blessings. Excuse me. A guy with glasses raises his hand, hesitating. What if we don't receive any blessings? May you all be blessed by the gods. A young man wearing glasses tentatively raises his hand and asks, but what if we don't get any blessings? Why waste time caring about trash? the saintess replied with a radiant smile, her cold words leaving the whole group stunned. The young man with glasses was rendered speechless, quickly knowing when to keep his mouth shut. Without asking anything further, his journey in this dreamlike high fantasy world officially began in the monster-infested forest. After running until he felt like his pants were about to fall off, Hansu started to tire out. He leaned against a tree, panting heavily. Damn it, if I'd known this would happen, I should have worked out more. Just as Hansu finished his sentence, a spear flew through the air and embedded itself into the trunk right in front of him. He turned his head trembling to see 10 monsters staring at him with hungry eyes. Their mouths were constantly spewing some kind of strange, unknown language. If he had understood them, he would have panicked even more because they were saying, "Human meat. Human meat. Hey, human, stop right there. Lunch, oh lunch." Looking at the monsters before him, Hansu's resentment grew. That fake goddess, just looking at her, you knew this freak show couldn't possibly exist on Earth. He had been tricked by that woman from the very beginning. She never had any intention of letting them return to Earth. Kang Hansu, use your brain. Hansu tried to calm himself down, then began to run while analyzing the situation. If this was truly a fantasy world, there must be things like magic. Please, heavens, don't let me down. Just then, a notification panel appeared before Hansu Namekong Hansu, Level 1 Blessing None. Hero's Curse Rank. E ratio 2.56 What? Where did this come from? What is a curse? Can a hero even be cursed? Filled with questions. Hansu clicked on the curse's description, Hero's Curse. Automatically translates the language of species hostile to the hero. Experience gained from hunting and achievements are significantly reduced. Hansu read it and felt a deep sense of gloom. Does that woman really want to kill me if I level up in a world like this game? Am I going to have to suffer through penalties like this? I'll eat its heart. I'll eat the meat. I'll chew on its bones. Hansu could now understand the monster's language, but he wasn't happy about this skill at all. Automatically translates the language of hostile species. So he could communicate with them. For the sake of his life, Hansu had to take a risk and try to reason with the beasts. Hey guys, can we talk for a second? The monsters were culturally shocked, staring at each other blankly for a moment before saying, "Look, lunch can talk meat, that talks. Let's eat first, then talk later." Hansu couldn't help but feel disappointed. In the end, communication wasn't useful at all. With no other choice, Hansu was forced to keep running. But human strength is limited. His legs couldn't take it anymore, and he came to a stop. He truly felt he couldn't run any further, thinking of being eaten alive. Hansu muttered a final goodbye. "Mom, Dad, your unfilial son is sorry for leaving before you. It's all that goddess's fault." Just then Hansu suddenly heard a strange language. It echoed in his ears, and right after an arrow flew from somewhere and pierced his leg. The culprits were a group of elves ambushing him from the branches ahead. By this time, the monsters behind Hansu had caught up. As soon as they saw the elves, they shouted excitedly, "Elves, let's eat! Elves' new lunch! Hey, you damn elves, get down here!" With that, the monsters rushed forward to attack the elves. Hansu guessed this must be a conflict between tribes in this fantasy world, but he used that opportunity to crawl with his injured leg toward a nearby tree trunk, both to rest and to contemplate his life. What should I do now? Pray to the heavens, not a chance. I ended up in this mess because of those bastards. Hansu looked at his injured leg, grinding his teeth in anger. Damn it, I'd rather die than beg them for anything. But am I really going to die like this? He didn't know that right at that moment. There was a mysterious person nearby, cloaked from head to toe, watching him with curious eyes. Immediately after Hansu's system notified him, a certain god is peeping. Should I pray to a god? Hansu looked at the monsters in front of him and answered himself, "No, I shouldn't. The only reason I'm in this situation is because of that goddess. Maybe I should pray to someone else." While Hansu had resigned himself to accepting death rather than begging for a god's mercy, another notification appeared. A certain god is teasing you. What is a hero? I don't know what that is. Hansu whimpered, and before he could realize it, his mouth acted faster than his brain. Save me! The god asked why he was there all alone. Why was he here alone? Because that damn goddess kidnapped him, a civilized person from Earth, but he couldn't tell them that truth. If that nameless voice was also a god, they might be friends with that goddess. After thinking for a moment, Hansu just pointed at the wound on his leg and said, "Please, save me first. It hurts so much I feel like I'm already dying." The system relayed the god's message. A certain god feels conflicted. Hansu curiously asked, "Is there any other god who will help me?" A certain god feels suspicious. They assumed there were no other gods around. They said this was lucky because there were no other gods nearby. They were all just bystanders, huh? Hansu sighed in frustration while some deity wondered what the heck outsider meant. He had no idea what he was even saying. Hansu whispered to himself, then stammered out, an outsider is just the Korean term for someone outside the social circle. He wondered what would happen if he just started cursing instead. That's a weird way to explain it. Hansu thought for a moment and made up an answer. An outsider is like a lone wolf running through the wild forest. The deity seemed to see an image of themselves in that description. So through the system's message transmission, the deity grasped the meaning of outsider and confirmed that they were also an outsider. Hansu sighed in relief and began to plead. Anyway, please help me. The deity asked if he was also an outsider. Hansu's inner thoughts stirred. What are they talking about? Why me? I ended up like this because of my classmates. They're all just spoiled brats living off their parents. They are clearly insiders, the complete opposite of an outsider. I'm not an outsider, he thought. But for the sake of his life, Hansu had to lie. Yes, I am an outsider too. That's why my friends were all summoned to the temple and I'm the only one left here. Because of that answer, Hansu gained the deity's sympathy, and the deity decided to help the poor soul left behind in this world. A beam of light gathered at Hansu's wound. The arrow vanished instantly, the wound healed and his pain completely disappeared. At this moment, he was certain they were truly a god. Hansu tried standing up, stomping his feet, and said, "Thanks for the help. My body feels so light now." The deity took care of the poor outsider and felt quite proud. Name Kang Hansu. Level 1. Blessing Outsider Grade F. Curse Hero Grade E. Stats 2.98. Why would there be an outsider blessing? Hansu was more confused the more he looked at it. He quickly clicked on the detailed info for outsider, check outsider. The outsider will have all statuses reset except for death. Terrible things will happen if the lone wolf leaves the wilderness. That's so random. What the hell is this lone wolf supposed to mean? Hansu muttered. Just then a monster approached him, but because its back was turned, it didn't see him. He quickly hid behind a tree and whispered to the deity, "If I become both an outsider and an insider, will you judge me a lot?" The deity insisted they only helped outsiders. Hansu could only stay silent and return to the main issue. He was now very close to the pack of carnivorous monsters. Even though he could hear what they were saying, danger was imminent. Hansu tried to sneak away, but accidentally stepped on a dry branch. The sound caught a monster's attention. It spun its head around and shouted, "Lunch is running away! Meat, come back and talk!" The pack of monsters immediately turned toward Hansu. Hansu stopped sneaking and started running for his life. At that same moment, he clearly felt his body changing. He suddenly remembered the blessing he had been granted. Outsider all statuses reset except for death. Hansu ran like the wind, feeling ecstatic inside. It wasn't just when he was hurt he could feel his fatigue disappearing even while running at top speed. He didn't feel tired at all. On the contrary, the monsters were starting to get winded and couldn't keep up. One monster cleverly threw a giant rock at Hansu. It intended to finish him off, but contrary to its expectations, Hansu wasn't affected at all. He even continued sprinting forward. Oh my God, this is amazing. I'm not saying this just to keep you happy. It's actually incredible. Not only did my wounds and fatigue vanish, but my energy is completely restored. It said all statuses except death. So as long as I'm not killed instantly, even serious wounds will heal. While Hansu was feeling smug, something unexpected happened. He ran for a while and ended up at the edge of a cliff. Hansu looked down into the bottomless abyss and felt a bit panicked. What about this? Will I survive? The system immediately relayed that the deity said he would die if he jumped from this height. Congratulations, you really are a heartless god. At least give me wings or something. Seeing the monsters catching up, he started thinking he was stuck between negotiating with a weird god, a cliff in front, and monsters right behind him. It was time to make a final decision. Hansu turned to negotiate with the monsters. Hey, listen up. I have a proposal that will satisfy you all. There are a lot of you who are hungry but don't have enough food, right? The first one who catches me, I'll give them my best parts. Instead of eating me all together, why don't you try this? Whoever catches me first gets the best cuts. Hearing this from Hansu, the monster's eyes glowed with bloodlust drool dripping down as they all lunged at once. They scrambled over each other, reaching out to grab him, fighting over who would get the best meat. The best part is mine. My meat. Mine. I caught him first. Meat. Hansu was slowly pushed to the edge of the cliff. He could fall at any moment. They really seem to love human meat. I don't really like being treated like this, Hansu muttered, then smiled and grabbed one of the monsters. He dragged it down with him as he fell. The monsters behind lost their footing, and one by one they all plummeted down after the meat. Are you crazy? My lunch is falling, you lunatic! Hearing the monsters scream, Hansu suddenly felt happy and laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha! A freakish monster howled. He's really gone insane. Boom, boom, boom! The sound of impacts against the ground echoed, blowing dust everywhere, and then there was no after. The area sank back into its usual silence. It's unknown how much time passed before Hansu slowly woke up. Ah. He let out a soft sound, blinking blankly a few times. When his vision cleared, he realized he was lying in the middle of a pile of monster corpses. Hansu thought to himself, I'm still not dead. Even though it feels like I've been crushed, I must be imagining it. Outsider stats will update only after death. Hansu stands up, glances at the explanation on the board, and mutters, must just be my imagination, right? The system notifies him. A certain god is impressed by the outsider's skill. Hansu speaks up, give it a rest. Just then a monster drags its battered body toward him. It clutches a dagger, raising it toward Hansu from nearby, wheezing, Gak! Lunch meat! Wait, it's still alive! Hansu looks at the monster, slightly startled. System info. Name, Blue Moon. Butcher, level 3. Blessing/curse. Hansu is stunned, wondering, oh, I can even see other people's status boards. What a cool name, and its level is way higher than mine. Guess that's why it survived such a high fall. Still kicking without a blessing. Is it because of the level? Hansu picks up a sharp rock and slowly approaches the monster, then squats down. In fantasy games, leveling up grants more experience and stronger opponents have higher levels. They're bound to give me plenty of XP. With that, Hansu lifts the rock high and brings it down hard. At the same time, in the city of Sanchiori, Hansu's classmates are sitting and listening to the saintess of the Grand Hall. Levels and blessings are the two things that make you stronger. You can also level up by killing creatures with a status board, or by receiving a god's blessing. To be blessed, you must... Hangu feels like he can't take any more of this. He covers his mouth and yawns. So time-consuming. Kangmin clasps his hands in prayer. Please, O gods, bless me. I am the one you have always been looking for. At the center, the saintess continues, remember one thing, receiving a blessing doesn't mean it's over. The gods are always watching you. Suddenly, Bora raises her hand. Excuse me, goddess, I have a question. The saintess stops and looks at Bora. Go ahead. Bora asks, you said that the gods will always be watching us. The saintess nods. That is correct. Bora presses on. Do you mean, even when we use the bathroom or bathe, no exceptions? Hearing this question, Bora's classmates' faces change. Feeling a chill run down their spines, they quickly cover their bodies with their hands. Seeing this, the saintess says coldly, Dear heroes, they are not mere mortals. Do not view them from a human perspective. Even so, before Bora can finish, several system windows appear before everyone. A male god says, no need to worry. Another male god says, I have no interest in such trivial things. A wind god says, to them those things are no different than the air. Bora mumbles with a skeptical look. Is this really okay? At this moment, Mizion rests her chin on her hand and asks curiously, Class president, they are gods anyway? If they find someone interesting, they'll bless them, right? The system notifies her. A god gives a thumbs up to your idea. The wind god highly rates your comment. Hehe. As Mizion is laughing happily, a glowing orb suddenly appears in front of her. Startled, she cries out, immediately after her status board changes. Name Jong Mizeon, level 1. Blessing charm F. Curse ratio 1.03. Mizeon jumps in excitement. Whoa, I got a blessing, yay! The people around her look surprised. Huh, that fast. What does this skill have to do with fighting the Demon King? Not that I care, though. While everyone is still buzzing, they suddenly catch a faint scent. What's that smell? Everyone sniffles, puzzled. Very quickly, the men in the room become mesmerized hearts, shooting from their eyes as they stare at Mizeon. Foo, foo, foo. Mizeon laughs smugly, checking her new skill. Charm. A seductive scent emanates from your body. Your chances of capturing and controlling the hearts of the opposite sex increase. Seeing this, The saintess opens her mouth to warn her, Ms. Jang Mizion, now is not the right time to use your charm skill. Oh, my bad. But what do I do now? I don't know how to turn it off. Mizion giggles, not a hint of fear, continuing to use the charm skill. The system notifies a pure goddess dislikes this behavior. The saintess is stunned, whispering, Oh, it seems it's too late. Mizion laughs happily. Too late for what? Everyone's already head over heels for me, aren't they? The saintess warns her, Please check your status board again. My status board? What's wrong with it? As she speaks, Mizion pulls up her personal info. Name Jang Mizion. Level 1. Blessing Hero F. Charm F. Curse Punishment F. Ratio 1.03. Mizion screams in panic. What is this, a curse of punishment? The people around her have also snapped out of her skill. They whisper to each other, A curse of punishment. A curse when we're supposed to be heroes. It's a curse. Perhaps a demon has appeared. The saintess smiles and speaks up. Blessings aren't the only things gods bestow upon you here. They will also curse the heroes they don't like. Mizion complains, I've never heard of that. The saintess slowly walks in front of Mizion, smiling. Of course, because I was about to explain it. While Mizion is still dazed, a mark suddenly appears on her back. It's a handprint making her scream in pain. It hurts, System info punishment. The damage and criticism you receive will increase significantly. You will receive a horrific penalty every time you perform an impure act. Terrified, Mizion begs continuously, I was wrong. I'll take it back right now, please. The pain finally begins to fade. The system notifies a certain pure goddess will be watching you. A certain wind god has whistled. A certain male god is looking the other way. The saintess clasps her hands, speaking with a sincere expression. Remember, once you receive a blessing or a curse, it will not disappear until you die. The effects intensify as your level increases, and once it goes up, it won't go back down. Mizion whines sluggishly. Wait, it's already this painful at F level. I'm doomed. Ashmazing encourages the hero, don't give up. Curses can be neutralized by blessings, and the pain will ease once your body and mind become stronger through leveling up. Mizion asks in surprise, Is that really true? Ashmazing smiles and replies, Of course, so don't throw in the towel just yet. Back to Hansu, he holds a blood-stained rock, deep in thought. That's strange. Why isn't my level changing? I've already killed a bunch of these bastards that were higher level than me. Is it because of the hero's curse, or is the leveling process just naturally this difficult? Hansu picks up the Blue Moon Butcher's dagger and asks, Deity, are you close with the lone wolves? Do you have any useful intel? The system notifies, a certain deity requests that you simply call them Outsider. Hansu asks again, Deity Outsider, do you have any useful intel? The system notifies a certain deity, informs you that they cannot disclose that. Well, figures Hansu thinks to himself, truly a useless deity aside from the blessings, but I'll keep them because the rewards are great. The system notifies a certain deity, is grumbling that just running around aimlessly is boring. I think so too, he agrees. Hansu thinks, even though I've been running through the forest for hours, I don't feel hungry, thirsty, or dizzy at all. The system notifies a certain deity suggests trying something else. If I find someone, Hansu doesn't even finish his sentence when he spots a pack of monsters not far ahead. He quickly hides his body behind a tree. Outside, the monsters, with their keen sense of smell, detect something. Meat. Smell of human meat. Human meat. I'm hungry. Meat. The system notifies a certain deity hopes Outsider who lacks power will die peacefully. Hansu grips the dagger tightly and thinks, I could have stabbed into that big mouth, if it were closer. A monster sniffs the air, calling out, Sniff, sniff. Meat is nearby. Smell of blood. Smells so good. The other monsters start searching. Smells like meat, but where is it? So hungry. Human meat. Let's go look somewhere else. Hansu hides behind the tree, pondering. I really want to get out of this forest. Then I'd run to find a human village, but I don't know which direction to take. Plus, this forest is crawling with man-eating monsters. Still, I just got a little stronger. This item in my hand, it's the Blue Moon Butcher's item. It looks like it's only meant for stabbing, but the blade is sharp enough for a player. The ugly guy who owned it before, that butcher, the system notifies a certain deity is praying for your soul. Hansu spots a vine on a tree branch, and an idea pops into his head. He uses the dagger to cut a piece of the vine, muttering, I won't die that easily. Even if this is an imaginary world, there's no rule forcing me to use standard items. like magic sword skills or flashy things like that. Right. The system notifies a certain deity is looking at you with a confused expression. Hansu uses a piece of the vine to make a dagger sheath to hang at his waist. With a longer piece of vine, he finds a rock, ties it securely to one end, and grips his homemade weapon. Hansu smiles and asks, "Do you know what centrifugal force is?" Not waiting for a reply, Hansu swings his homemade weapon and jumps out. He decides he will give these man-eating monsters a taste of the power of science. Swishing the weapon, Hansu smacks his lips and mutters, "It's heavier than I thought. At this rate, if I swing this rope once or twice, I might just lose my balance and fall over. But every time the blessing activates, my legs stop trembling and my breathing stabilizes too. Heh, I think I understand how to use Outsider's blessing now. Now I don't need to focus on trivial things like pain or fatigue anymore. As long as I don't die, the blessing can heal me completely. In other words, even if I'm standing on the brink of death, I can still swing my arm and fight." Outsider's blessing. The outsider will recover all statuses except for death. When a lone wolf leaves the wilderness, something terrifying is bound to happen. Right then, monsters start rushing toward Hansu. He isn't afraid at all. Instead, he grins, swinging his makeshift weapon and taking them down despite the danger of getting hurt. The monsters don't stop just because Hansu took one down. Only after he knocks down a few more do they change tactics, standing from a distance to throw rocks at him, calling out, "They will become tired. It seems they are trying to drag out the battle to wear me out. These guys are more vicious and intelligent than they look." Though a bit surprised, Hansu quickly comes up with a countermeasure. He bites the bullet, takes a barrage of rocks from the monsters, and lets his head droop, pretending to be exhausted. Meat? Tired? Food has arrived. Food has... Sure enough, the monsters take the bait. They yell, drop the rocks from their hands, and rush toward Hansu. When they are about to grab him, he suddenly smirks. "You naive fools, but I never said I'd spare you." He swings his makeshift weapon, taking out all the remaining monsters one by one. The system notifies that a certain deity says, "Those untrustworthy outsiders are gnolls." Gnolls are bipedal monsters often appearing in fantasy mythology, typically described as having a hyena-like appearance. Because of the chat settings, Hansu speaks up, "I am the mystery solver, you know. The G-non I see in the game looks way cuter. Maybe it's the difference between 2D and 3D, or maybe it's just a matter of perspective versus reality. Seeing them look like they're trying to kill me, the system notifies me that some god says the newborn G-non looks adorable." Hansu rubs his chin and mutters, "Oh, thanks for that incredibly useless piece of information." "Well, thanks anyway, I guess. I've killed so many of these things, how am I still not leveling up?" At the same time, the temple master announces, "Training officially starts tomorrow. I will be in charge of swordsmanship and Princess Athena will teach magic. You can choose whichever field you're interested in." Kamen raises his hand and asks, "Can I learn both?" Master replies, "Of course. If you find it too difficult, you're free to quit." Kamen assures him, "That won't happen, Master." The Master smiles and says, "I suppose I'll have to take your word for it then." Another person raises their hand and asks, "Is it okay if I don't join any classes?" Master replies, "If you don't need top-tier swordsmanship or magic, you can do whatever you want." At this moment, Hansu asks, "Then can I come by here when I'm free?" Master responds, "Of course. Any other questions?" Hansu chuckles to himself. The system notifies him, "Some immature major god has taken an interest in you." That night, Hansu sits on his bed. That training is just for bonus features. It's nothing like the amazing cheat-like skills a protagonist gets. The protagonist has their own path. Everyone else goes in there and does whatever training they offer. Meanwhile, the protagonist of this fantasy world will explore ruins and dungeons with cute, beautiful companions. Heh heh heh! The next morning, when everyone has gathered, Master raises his hand and shouts, "Any hero who wants to walk the path of a knight, follow me. You can change your mind at any time. If you feel it's not for you, don't worry." Someone speaks up asking, "Prince, what about magic?" "Where do I learn magic?" Master answers with a forced smile. "She is a very dedicated person, so she will be here soon. Anyone who wants to learn magic, please wait here." Saying that, Master leads the students away. "Did you sleep well last night?" "Oh, don't ask. I just couldn't get used to that portable toilet. It's so weird not having shampoo or conditioner." While the other students are chatting, Hansu stands to the side checking his personal information. Name O Hansu, Level 1, Blessing Hero F, Special F, Curse Dividend 1.17. A new blessing. Hansu is surprised to see a new trait. Curious, he taps on it to check. Special. You have been chosen as the most unique protagonist in the world. Only you can see and feel this special blessing. After reading it, Hansu smirks and whispers, "Looks like I found the answer right here." Choi Kang-min thinks he's still acting like he's the best, even though he doesn't know a damn thing right. Fine, good luck then. If a kid like him tries his best, he might at least reach an A-rank position like the protagonist's rival, right? Hansu leaves the temple and heads straight to the town square not far away. After a while of searching, he finally finds the place he was looking for and quickly pushes the door open. He enters the guild headquarters. Ignoring everyone's suspicious stares, he walks straight to the reception desk. "Welcome! It seems like this is your first time here, right? What brings you to our guild?" The girl with glasses at the reception desk asks with a smile. Hansu confidently replies, "I want to register for the guild and become an adventurer." This is usually the choice of protagonists. In the fantasy genre, a perfect place for those who don't like being tied down. While Hansu is lost in his own fantasy, a voice calls out from behind him. "Hey, this isn't a place for a brat like you. You tired of living or something?" Hansu turns around to see that the owner of the voice is a girl with fiery red hair. Seeing that Hansu has noticed her, the girl continues to warn him, "Stop the stupid thing you're about to do and go back home." I've seen so many kids lose their lives just because they got a whim to become adventurers. The fantasy saint Hansu hears this and can't help but feel delighted. This is it. The effect of the blessing plot armor. Plot armor is a plot device in movies and TV shows that prevents important characters from dying or being seriously injured at inconvenient moments. "Hey, are you even listening to me?" the girl says, looking annoyed. Hansu finally snaps out of his thoughts. He looks the redhead up and down and silently evaluates the girl in front of him. Maybe a princess or a noble's daughter in disguise. Is this the privilege of being the protagonist? It seems the special blessing is working. Thinking this, Hansu says to the redhead, "What if I don't want to go back?" "What did you say?" "If you're that worried about me, why don't you come with me?" Don't judge a book by its cover. But I'm sure you've met plenty of people who are two-faced, haven't you? Right. The redhead is surprised at first, then breaks into a meaningful smile and says, "Interesting." Hansu, hearing this, becomes even more convinced that he is the protagonist, so he continues to talk nonsense. "I didn't want to reveal this so soon. But am I really the chosen one?" The redhead replied with a look of indifference, thinking, "If I were still back on Earth, I'd never get the chance to talk to a 10 out of 10 girl like her. A perfect 10 just like that. But here, I'm a hero with a mission to save the world. Some god is laughing their head off, and I'm left wondering what exactly are the powers of this chosen one." Hansu puts on a cool front and says, "You'll get to witness my plus armor firsthand while we're working together." Back to Hansu, after a long battle, he's finally finished off almost all the monsters, leaving only one alive. The human town is still a long way off to the west. The monster looks at Hansu and rasps, "Meat. Can talk. Too strong. Seriously." "Thanks," Hansu replies before using his makeshift weapon to send the monster off to the afterlife. "These monsters are surprisingly honest. You can tell right away if they're lying," Hansu says to the god. He turns his gaze toward the west where the human village lies. Even though he doesn't know exactly how far it is, he's already asked a dozen monsters. There's no way he could be wrong. He almost died at their hands, but now he's the one hunting them. "In just one night, I went from prey to hunter. I guess I've got some real potential after all." Hansu feels a bit proud, but then he notices his body is covered in cuts, and his clothes are shredded from rolling around on the battlefield while learning how to hunt. "I've endured some pretty serious injuries. If I hadn't been blessed with the outsider trait, I wouldn't have been able to deal with them. The regeneration from the blessing isn't half bad. As long as I can stay stable, I'll be fine. I wonder how far the town is," he thinks. "I'm so curious about the people of this world." Seeing Hansu's excitement about meeting his own kind, the god gives him a reminder through the system. The god sounds annoyed. "Do you want me to die or something?" The god replies that it has nothing to do with him. "That's harsh. You're the one who gave me the blessing, after all." While Hansu is chatting with the god, another pack of beasts appears behind him, trying to ambush him, but they end up getting wiped out by him anyway. But this is really strange. Hansu stares at his personal info. Name, Kim Hansu. Level 1. Blessing Outsider Grade F. Curse Hero. Grade E. Ratio 3:15. My level hasn't gone up at all. Hansu can't help but feel confused. I've killed a dozen beasts, even ones at a higher level than me. Why is that? A god is worried behind the scenes, and then Hansu hears the voices of a group of people from the god's faction. It's a language that isn't being automatically translated. Is that Elvish? I need to observe carefully. Hansu quickly hides behind a tree. Quietly observing, he sees them shooting arrows at someone else who is also fleeing like he was. It looks like they aren't exactly the good guys either. He peeks out and realizes the group are humans. There are 2 swordsmen and an archer. Could they be adventurers? Because of his actions, Hansu has been spotted by the archer in that group. She immediately fires an arrow, pinning it straight into the tree where Hansu is hiding. "Wait, I'm just looking for the way to the town," Hansu rushes out to explain, but he suddenly realizes they can't understand a word he's saying. They are the first humans Hansu has encountered here. He doesn't want to miss this opportunity. First, he sneaks his knife away. Then he kneels and raises his hands, saying, "I promise I won't attack." Even though he can't communicate with words, humans don't just communicate through speech, right? His body language shows he doesn't want to fight, and his voice remains calm to avoid conflict. Even without speaking the same language, this seems to be enough. The 3 of them whisper to each other for a moment. The female archer draws her bow toward Hansu. "Don't." Hansu instinctively raises his hands to cover his face. "I'm a good guy, I don't bite." Finally, thanks to some good luck, he is accepted by the group and allowed to join them. On the way, they talk to Hansu very enthusiastically, but other than when his name is mentioned, Hansu has no idea what they're saying. Hansu feels lucky to have met good people. At least they didn't shoot him on sight, even though he can't see their status boards. Hansu can guess that they are stronger than him, a level 1 newbie. The god watches Hansu getting along with the new trio and feels a bit grumpy. The god says, "You don't act like an outsider," and seems annoyed. All right. Hansu replies dismissively. The god says, "You're ignoring me." Hansu laughs. "We're pretty close now, aren't we? So I'm not really paying attention to what you're saying." The god asks, "Since when are we close?" This time, Hansu doesn't answer. He turns to look at his new companions. He's the only one who can talk to the gods. Through body language, he's learned their names. The bearded, middle-aged man is Gary. He guesses he's the group leader. He carries that massive sword around without even breaking a sweat. Is he really that strong? He looks like he's about to go fight a dinosaur. Hansu stares at the bulging muscles on his arm, inwardly marveling at how strong he must be. The god sighs. "True, but he's nothing compared to me." Regardless, they are human. The next person in the group is Khan. He might not be as bulky as Gary, but he's very sharp. And the other guy, the one always laughing, he was carrying dual swords and looked just like someone out of a fantasy world. Finally, there was the archer Misa. Her crossbow seemed to be made of steel. Judging by its size, Hansu guessed it definitely wasn't meant for shooting humans. Misa signaled for Hansu to look in a certain direction. "Over there." Hansu followed her gaze and looked into the distance. Far below the mountain, smoke was rising. If it wasn't a forest fire, it had to be smoke from someone's house. "Finally, we've reached a place where people live," Hansu exclaimed happily. These words reached the ears of that god immediately. The system sound rang out, and the god said that his actions didn't seem like those of an outsider. Just like last time, Hansu responded dismissively. Yeah, I know. The god looked at the outsider with dissatisfaction. "I was only pretending to get along so I could get out of that forest." No sooner had he finished speaking than a crisis occurred. A pack of gnolls rushed out of the forest toward Hansu's group. Gary, Khan, and Misa quickly moved to fight. Gary and Khan, acting as swordsmen, moved in for close-quarters combat. Meanwhile, Misa stood in the back providing cover fire with her bow. After a while, just as Misa was reloading, a gnoll suddenly lunged at her from behind. Luckily, in that split-second life-or-death moment, Hansu arrived just in time, swatting the monster away and saving Misa's life. From that moment on, the entire pack of gnolls unanimously chose Hansu as their target, rushing at him like moths to a flame. In the end, they were all wiped out by Hansu in the blink of an eye. After clearing out the gnolls, Gary's group all turned to look at Hansu with suspicious eyes. One would think they'd be grateful for Hansu's help, but no. After saying something to Hansu, that girl Misa decisively drew her bow and shot an arrow into Hansu's chest. Damn this world. That was all Hansu thought before collapsing to the ground. Once Hansu lay motionless, Khan started praising them. "Nice work, Misa. The plan got changed because of the gnolls." Misa smiled and replied, "That actually turned out for the best. Thanks to the gnolls going crazy, we found out just how dangerous he is. I thought he would be very weak with that frail-looking body. But not only does he keep annoying me with that strange language, he fights much better than I thought." Gary nodded in agreement. "It would be very dangerous if we let him know our original plan." "Exactly right. It's a bit rude, but it can't be helped. I don't think this guy would be willing to be sold as a slave." Gary reminded them, "Right. We should keep that dagger he's using. Why, it's just a piece of junk. Because we can't sell him as a slave, so we might as well take whatever we can. Besides, who knows, what if this turns out to be something valuable? Seeing his accomplice's lack of interest, Gary looked displeased and said, "You two don't trust me. I've already taken a good look at it. The pattern on that dagger belongs to the Royal Elven clan." "Really? Is it an artifact of the elves?" Khan finally became curious and walked over to where Hansu lay eyeing it. "Even if it's a knockoff, we could still make a ton of money off it." Gary confirmed firmly, then started to urge, "Hurry, Khan. The gnolls are probably looking for us again. Remember to be careful, I can't fight anymore." "Understood." Khan replied while looking at the knife in Hansu's hand. Then, with a surprised expression, he spoke up. "Look at this. He hasn't let go of his weapon even though he's dead." Misa quickly warned, "Don't let your guard down. I shot him in the chest, not the heart. He might still be alive." "Is that so?" She gave a sinister smile and raised her sword, stabbing Hansu one more time. Just as he was about to snatch the dagger from Hansu, a notification screen appeared. Name Kang Hansu. Level 1. Blessing Solitary. Hero's Curse Grade E. There are two conditions to see someone's status window. Either that person sets it to public, or you view it through a special blessing. And there is one required condition to see the status window: the target must still be alive. While Khan was still in shock, Hansu plunged a fatal strike into his throat, making him disappear. Khan, Gary, and Misa all screamed in unison, then fell into a panic. "Damn it, who is this guy? Is he a demon?" Gary's hands trembled as he tried to lift his blade, but he had to helplessly say, "My blade, my strength, it's too weak to fight now." "Gary, watch out in front of you," Misa shouted in a hurry, but it was already too late. Hansu moved like a gust of wind, rushing past Gary and taking his life. An arrow pierced through Hansu's chest. You could tell who did it even with your toes. Hansu turned his head and gave a sinister smile, pulling the arrow out of his body while speaking in a language Misa didn't understand. Every time she took a step back, Hansu took a step forward. Even though there was a language barrier, she still tried to beg for her life, but naturally Hansu refused to understand and just let her have it. Off to meet their ancestors, the bunch of them. "Damn it, that hurts like hell. Who dares shoot that kind of thing at a normal person?" Hansu complained while putting on Misa's clothes. "I thought this outfit would fit, but it feels really uncomfortable. Maybe because it's women's clothing." A god didn't hesitate to burst out laughing. A god said they respected the outsider's hobbies. Hansu misunderstood, frowned, and explained it's not a hobby. She was the only one whose physical build was similar to mine. The other two were wearing ridiculously bulky, clumsy armor. Hansu picked up Misa's crossbow, gave it a once-over, and spoke. "I think I can use this. Should I take it with me?" "Oh, right. I just noticed something. I have no idea why those bastards kept attacking me. But the second time that status window appeared and then vanished." Hansu recalled the information about Misa that he had read. Focusing increases hit accuracy significantly, but the more they move, the lower that rate drops. It's a blessing from a god. I guess it's more common in this world than I thought. A god whispered that no one would bother asking where he was going now. Hansu thought for a moment and made his decision. "I'll head to the village as planned. I've got this, too." Hansu held up the bag of loot he'd scavenged from those 3 traders. "I've taken enough compensation. With this much money, everything should be settled, even if I can't speak. Right? A god reminded you about trying to avoid becoming an outsider." "You bet." Meanwhile, at the temple in Sanchiori town, Athena rushed into the classroom and hurriedly said, "I'm sorry, I'll make up for being late by doing a great job. First, I think we should start by explaining what magic actually is. A long, long time ago, magic didn't exist on the Fantasia continent," a frizzy-haired guy said, acting like a know-it-all. "The foundation of magic is all about practical application. I've already read that in a novel. You'll become a shining example if you apply what you've learned." The guy with glasses, hearing that, felt very proud. "I knew this day would come. That's why I kept myself pure." The guy with pink hair standing behind him laughed and teased, "He kept himself pure, seriously. For those who don't know, there's a joke in Korea that if you're still a virgin at 25, you become a wizard, and if you stay that way until 42, you become a legend." How pathetic. Magic is chemistry. I'll show everyone the bomb. "The first automatic spell in Fantasia," the short-haired girl with glasses declared confidently. Just then the class president Bora spoke up. "Quiet, everyone. You're distracting the other students." The frizzy-haired guy shrugged and said, "Does this nerd know anything about Fantasia? How could you become a great mage just because you studied the history of magic? No, magic is all about talent. You have to get used to mana." "All right, everyone." Athena clapped her hands to cut them off. I also don't like impractical theories. Talent is always number one. Therefore, a lecture on the foundations of magic is still necessary. The foundations of magic, did she just mention that? I didn't even get to hear it. And what is talent? What do you mean by pure? The students started gossiping even more intensely. Athena continued explaining, I will repeat this for you all. Magic is a field where talent is the most important factor, and the elements that determine talent are natural bloodline and education. Don't you forget that. I am Athena Ash, Amazing, the descendant of Sion Ash Amazing. I am the 12th generation descendant of the founder. You could say I possess both the bloodline and the wisdom of my predecessors. Then what about us? A young man asked. You all will go through a learning process with me, become my students, and then we'll find who is the most elite. Simple, right? Princess Athena Dubora raised her hand to speak. Sorry for interrupting you, but I want to ask one thing. For someone without both bloodline and wisdom, is it impossible to become a mage? We just want to start learning something practical. After a moment of surprise, Athena's face beamed as she replied, Of course it's possible. So don't... Before Dubora could finish, Athena pulled her up and said, I'll explain that later. Before that, Hero Dubora was it. Yes, Bora replied, looking confused. I will establish a teacher-student relationship with Hero Dubora right here and now. I take you on as the first student of Athena Ash Amazing. Hero Dubora, please accept this magical oath. An oath. Dubora muttered, then closed her eyes and whispered something. Immediately, a light emanated from her body, and after a moment, it faded away. Congratulations, Hero Dubora. From today on, you are officially a mage. While Dubora was still dazed, Athena continued to lure the rest of the students. I forgot to mention, the sooner you become my students, the more talent you receive. Dubora level 1. Blessing Hero. F Magic C. Curse ratio 1.65. Dubora looked at the status board and finally understood. The blessing reached rank C when we established this bond. Is this the talent you were talking about? That's right, Athena replied. So if your parents or teachers don't possess magic, then no matter how hard you try, you can't become a mage. Do you understand now why talent is so important? Hero Dubora, I understand now. Dubora nodded. Now let's go back to Hero Dubora's question. As she finished speaking, Athena created a small spark with her right hand. The founder became the god of magic, and he bestowed a blessing so that future generations and students could learn magic easily. As she spoke, Athena intensified the flame. This is white magic, which mages often use. It's very safe and effective for bestowing blessings. Athena's face turned serious, and a purple flame erupted from her left hand. Then the flame gradually burned through her glove, and then her hand, making the students extremely confused and worried. Athena smiled as she looked at Bo-Ra, asking her if she truly needed talent. That's not right, is it? On my right hand is blessed white magic, while on the left is unblessed black magic. Athena was busy explaining when a figure appeared behind her. Then came her shrill scream. The servant pinched Athena's cheek and lectured the princess. Did you forget that His Highness warned you that you are not allowed to use magic? Black magic, huh? Athena looked up aggrieved and replied, I only used a little bit so the heroes could understand better. Ah, yes, I understand now. I will report this to the queen. Athena hurriedly begged, I'm sorry, please don't tell her. Princess, let me treat your wounds. A male mage rushed over and used healing magic on Athena. Looking at Athena's injury, Bo-Ra said apologetically, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have asked that question. It's okay. At least everyone understands the dangers of black magic now. So what exactly is black magic? Is it evil power? Facing the students' questions, Athena calmly replied, Black magic isn't necessarily evil. Contrary to magic blessed by the god of magic, black magic is the original natural form of magic. While his classmates were learning the basics of magic, Hansu had wandered to a human village. Although there was a language barrier thanks to the money in his hand, he easily passed the checkpoint to enter the village. This town was located in the middle of a forest teeming with man-eating monsters, so no one really cared that Hansu was walking around with weapons. Is this the place those gatekeepers were talking about? Hansu looked at a sign featuring an elf taking a bath. This sign must be the right one. It was indeed an inn. After renting a room, Hansu immediately went to bathe. At this moment, he began to idly think about life. Money is still everything. Even if you can't communicate, you can still bribe gatekeepers, innkeepers, or anyone else with money. A notification popped up. The god feels uncomfortable. Hansu laughed. Oh, really? Well, I'm in the middle of a bath. What is your gender, god? Are you male, female, androgynous, or both? The god felt even more uncomfortable. I thought you were a man, and I have to protect my dignity, too, Hansu said, as he used a towel to scrub bloodstains off his arm. These stains were hard to wash off. Suddenly, a strange notification appeared. The god is worried. What are you worried about? The god said that was a secret. While Hansu was still confused, a man's voice sounded from outside. Is this the room? Hansu jumped and looked toward the door. Another person replied to the owner of the voice in the god faction language. The man then ordered him, all right, go back to work. I'll handle this myself. From now on, Hansu decided to run a test. He calmly said to the person outside, I'm bathing, please wait a moment. The man was a bit surprised. I thought you didn't know the language here. Ahem, I know it now. Hansu put on his clothes and then vigilantly gripped his weapon. He and that person could understand each other. Even if he wasn't human, he was at least a hostile species. Is he an enemy of the heroes? Could he be like those gnolls or the others? Hansu deliberated for a moment, then decided not to open the door. He turned and sat on the bed, his eyes fixed on the door, his right hand holding a knife behind his back. Then he calmly shouted, Come in! Watching the door slowly creak open. Hansu held his breath, waiting. His heart was pounding, feeling like he was sitting on needles, wondering what kind of nightmare would appear next. Regardless of whether they are enemies of the heroes or not. It doesn't matter. Elves, humans, gnolls, to me they're all the same. The only thing that matters is whether this conversation will go smoothly or not. A middle-aged man with a haggard face stepped into the room. What is it? Hansu asked bluntly. Seeing Hansu's tense expression, the man replied, Don't worry, I am the village chief. Someone said there was a guest here who didn't understand the language, so I wanted to come and check. I see. Hansu replied secretly, judging in his heart, a human. Or is he in disguise? He looks a bit too young to be a village chief. Kang Hansu, is it? Your name is strange. Hearing that Hansu could only give a wry smile, just as he thought they could see his status window. Having my personal information scrutinized like this, it makes me quite uncomfortable. The village chief then kindly reminded him, it's best if you hide your status window. In any case, you shouldn't let your information leak like that. Wait, you can hide it! Hansu's eyes widened in surprise as he asked. The old village chief looked at Hansu with judgmental eyes. You don't seem to know anything, do you? I thought you were someone who snuck in here. Or perhaps someone from another kingdom. You look quite disappointed, he thought. Seems pretty clear, doesn't it? The village chief doesn't deny that this village has a rather hostile relationship with the elves, all due to their greed. The gnolls also lost their habitat. Our lands were in their crosshairs too. So many people have lost their loved ones. This village was built to rally everyone. Those who seek revenge. That's why there are so many mercenaries here. Not many are left who remember what happened in the past. The rest are just recruits from the cities looking to gain experience. Suddenly, Hansu's system notification pops up. The god looks annoyed. While Hansu is distracted by the notification, the village chief suddenly speaks before leaving. May I ask one last question? Sure. At that moment, the old village chief holds up a strange vial of medicine. Then he asks nonchalantly, It's been a while now. Ever since I slipped the poison into your dinner, why hasn't it kicked in yet? Hansu immediately grabs his knife to stab him, but before he can even touch him, his body stiffens up. He can't move. The village chief breaks into a smug grin. Impressive. What is that stuff? Hansu tries to move but fails. Frustrated, he says, Those trashy elves have high poison resistance, so I made this for cases like this. Give it up. Your weak body can't fight it off. The village chief says as he snatches the knife from Hansu's hand. It's not your fault, kid. You're just unlucky. The god is rebuking you, saying he warned you. Hansu sighs silently. After restraining Hansu, the village chief ties him up and drags him to the basement. Oh, the place where he tortures and slaughters the elves. Hansu scans the room and says with contempt, Finally, I understand why. The gnolls were your victims too, weren't they? The real culprit is the one who caused the conflict by stealing the gnolls' land. The village chief screams, Those trashy elves, they are the true enemies. Look at my status window. This is the price one must pay for bearing this burden. Hansu glances at his status window. Name Crimson. Level 16. Blessing Lost Wisdom. Curse Elf Eater. You are the chosen nemesis of the elves. Your life and youth have been shortened. All damage and malice from an elf are greatly increased. Is that a curse from the gods? Hansu asks cautiously. Crimson replies honestly. It appeared after I killed an elf. I suppose I'll just have to consider it an honor. Hansu flashes a sunny smile, gently trying to appeal to whatever conscience Crimson might have left. Village Chief, I'm not the kind of elf you hate. If you kidnapped me just to talk about this, it's a bit of a waste. Before Hansu can finish, Crimson points the knife straight at his face. Actually, I didn't intend to say that much. But after seeing this knife, I had second thoughts. Where did you get it? Hansu hesitates, thinking, it's an item taken from the knoll named the Blue Moon Butcher. But I don't know if I should say that out loud. He looks at the elves hanging from the ceiling, then back at the knife. He decides to focus on surviving first. I got it after killing the elf who shot me with an arrow. I guess you and I have a common enemy, huh? Crimson asks skeptically. You killed a royal elf with that skill. Royal Crimson sees the shock on Hansu's face and laughs. You didn't know. What a pain. Killing you is going to be harder now. Then let me go. No. Didn't you look at my status window? I'm a mage, but I have no blessings or special favors. Crimson starts to get a headache. You really don't know anything, do you? I'm an outsider. Hansu replies, adding to himself, there isn't a single person or god. Who explained this world to me? An outsider. Crimson looks at Hansu with interest. Hansu clicks his tongue. Like a lone wolf wandering through the valleys all by himself. That doesn't sound too bad. You won't have to walk alone anymore. The god is praying for the outsider's death. Hansu doesn't understand what Crimson is implying, but after receiving the system notification, he becomes even more confused. What's going on? Why is everyone acting like this at this moment? Crimson waves his hand using magic to light some candles. He loosens the chains, letting one of the elves fall to the ground. Crimson stomps on the elf. Then he says bluntly, I am a dark mage. You have to die so I can extend my life. Even if this curse is slowly eating away at me, I can still take your lives. To counter it, I'll give you a less painful death. Consider it a reward for killing that royal elf. How kind of you, Hansu says sarcastically. Escaping will be tough, but I can't die here. Let's try negotiating with him. Thinking this, Hansu calls out Crimson, village chief, whatever. If you're going to beg, then... Of course it's not that, it's something else. Fine, say it. Fine. Go ahead and say your last words before you die. As Crimson spoke, he caught sight of the elf girl lying on the ground. And something about her writhing in pain irritated him so much that he grabbed his whip to torment her. When she finally fell silent, Crimson, looking satisfied, casually turned to Hansu and asked, What was it you were about to say just now? Having witnessed the entire scene, Hansu couldn't help but feel conflicted. The guy's behavior was bizarre. Was he intentionally showing this to him? There had to be a reason for it. Walking this path all alone must have been incredibly tough, right? Hansu probed. You know about that too. Crimson's eyes lit up as he looked at Hansu. I was an outsider once too. Like traveling everywhere all by yourself. Crimson seemed a bit deflated and muttered to himself, but then as if something clicked, he cheered up and added, I get it now. Doesn't that make me an outsider too? The deity emphasized that wasn't the main issue. I think so too. Hansu agreed inwardly, though he felt he'd succeeded in changing the guy's perspective. Right, I really like you. But because I'm an outsider, I have to keep being a lone wolf. Crimson's statement left Hansu cursing internally. What kind of fucked up logic is that? First, he wanted to kill him for the sake of justice. Now, he wants to kill him to become a true outsider. Some deity somewhere burst out laughing. Hearing that, Hansu grew even more annoyed. Is it funny to you? Today is a beautiful day. Finally, someone who understands my heart has appeared. Dear Kang Hansu, please keep watching over me. Sure, Hansu replied silently, lamenting his grim situation. Crimson ignored him now and turned his attention back to the elves hanging from the ceiling. He began to look them over. After a moment of deliberation, Crimson finally chose a man to perform the sacrificial ritual. Let's get started. Crimson flashed a cruel smile, then clasped his hands together to perform the rite. O Mother of Life, who holds fate in your hands, please grant me half of this elf's remaining life. The moment he spoke, a glowing magic circle enveloped the elf man. Swear that you will offer half your remaining life to me, Crimson commanded coldly. The elf didn't obey, just glared at him with hateful eyes. Seeing this, Crimson slowly crouched down and whispered a threat. If you agree, I'll let you reunite with your daughter soon. He then grabbed the man by his hair. You know the price for disobeying me, don't you? To protect his daughter, the man had no choice but to yield to Crimson's demands. The oath was set, and as he finished, the magic circle emitted a blinding light that forced Hansu to duck and cover. What's wrong with that village chief? Is he absorbing the elves' life force to achieve immortality? Hansu thought to himself. A split second later, the light vanished. Did it fail? Hansu muttered, slowly opening his eyes. Not at all, my spell is complete. Crimson stomped on the elf, who was now nothing more than a withered husk, and replied, What do you mean you look no different than before? Crimson laughed gleefully. That's because I'm not human. You and I killing elves isn't about prolonging life in this village. Do you know how many humans and elves I've taken? So many that the curse no longer affects me. When I was cursed, I was still just a human. Back then, I grew old and ugly. That was when a witch passing through the village offered to perform an experiment on me. Crimson slowly unbuttoned his shirt, revealing a baby Genon embedded in his stomach. Hansu watched in shock. A Genon? That's right. I am a Genon, Crimson said proudly. Isn't it wonderful? The combination of two opposing species. With the power of a Genon and the intellect of a human, I will have my revenge soon. Just you alone. That's enough. I also have black magic. I'll use the elves' power to fight against them. It's a perfect plan, don't you think? But I'm not an elf. Hey, don't sweat the small stuff. Crimson used his blood-stained hands to grab Hansu's shoulders, saying gratefully, Thank you for teaching me about being an outsider. I've finally realized my true self. I am an outsider, a lone Genon. Wandering through the forests. I won't forget you. To show my appreciation, I will cherish your sacrifice. You're still planning to kill me, aren't you? Of course, I'm an outsider after all. Hansu went silent, thinking to himself, I've learned a lesson today. Outsiders are truly dangerous. I think this is where I need to stop. Back in the town of Sanchiori, Princess Athena of the Ash-Amazing Kingdom, known as the genius of the Magic Kingdom, was admired by everyone. She spent most of her time messing around. Thanks to her innate talent, she didn't have to try hard at anything. So why would a genius like her take Duboza on as a student? Its simple magic is determined by bloodline and environment. Even knowing that Duboza still tried very hard, and because of that effort, Athena decided to make her first student. She said, Magic can be created through imagination, but is there a way to boost its power? Facing her favorite student's question, Athena happily replied, That's a great question, Hero Duboza. If you want to improve your magic, you just have to follow the magic of your teacher. Or your parents. Besides that, Athena used her ice magic to conjure a cute rabbit, leaving the fledgling heroes in awe of the talent she'd been blessed with from her previous life. Members of the Ash-Amazing clan have passed down and used fire magic for generations, but this is my own unique magic. Would you like to give it a try? Athena asked excitedly. Ruby hummed in response, then tried to use her hand to create a rabbit just like Athena did, but it failed. Seeing this, Athena gave a shy, awkward laugh, saying, It's my first time teaching anyone, so I'm still a bit clumsy. Once my magic grows stronger, my students will find it easy to do as well. Got it! Jang Mizeon suddenly piped up. But what about those of us who weren't blessed? That question was like a fuse. The other students started clamoring, That's right, we deserve to be blessed too. I want a blessing too. It's not fair, why only him? You need to treat us all fairly. Athena let out a wicked smirk. The ice rabbit in her hand suddenly turned its head to stare at the students, making their hair stand on end. So, should I pick one more person, I wonder? Which hero wants to be my second disciple? Athena acted as if she were deep in thought. The students went wild, everyone desperate to follow in Ruby's footsteps and become her pupil. It's obviously going to be me. Princess, please pick me. It has to be me. You don't even study, you idiot. Are you any better than me? The heroes had just been united in their desire to learn from Princess Athena, but with just one sentence from her, they immediately started fighting amongst themselves. Watching the heroes bickering loudly, Athena added fuel to the fire with a playful grin. Let me know once you've decided. Every look and gesture of Athena's didn't escape Ruby's notice. She asked in a low voice, You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Athena feigned ignorance. What do you mean by that? Nothing, Ruby replied quietly. All right, then let's continue with the lesson. We were just at the ice rabbit part, right? Can everyone's unique magic be learned through endless trial and error and constant practice, like black magic? Ruby's question caught Athena off guard. After a moment of silence, she replied, Black magic is different from white magic. It cannot be learned on one's own. Black magic always requires a sacrifice, like the situation Hansu is in right now. You are becoming a sacrifice for Crimson's twisted magic, standing there in the middle of the magic circle that Crimson has created. Hansu silently cursed his luck, wondering how on earth he ended up in the clutches of this lunatic. Kang Hansu, my good friend, swear that you will offer your life to me, Crimson said with a smirk. Hansu, clearly displeased, retorted, The consent of the sacrifice is required, isn't it? I have imprisoned your body, but not your soul. Stop talking nonsense. Swear it right now. If I just sit here, I'm a dead man. What do I do? A thought suddenly flashed through Hansu's mind. He quickly said to Crimson, Wait a second. Before I die, I have one request. I want to see Misa one last time. Crimson stroked his chin, pondering. Misa, that girl who carries around that massive crossbow. That's right. You know her, don't you? Why would you want to see her? I'm her boyfriend. Hearing that, Crimson burst out laughing, grabbed Hansu by the collar and growled, You're her boyfriend, ha, I'm the village chief. I know everything that happens here. You think I don't know that she is actually the one dating Misa? Don't think you can fool me with such ridiculous excuses. So he hasn't completely lost his marbles. Looks like he really is fit for the village chief title. That makes this even easier. Hansu rejoiced inwardly, then continued to bluff. You're right, but Khan is just her ex. Crimson scoffed. So you're her current boyfriend. Prove it. Just smell me and you'll know right away. Hansu replied confidently. The reason he was so confident was because he had been wearing Misa's clothes earlier, so it was perfectly natural that her scent was all over him. Crimson, still half-doubting, leaned in close to Hansu. As expected, he said, This is indeed Misa's scent. There's no way it would be on you if you weren't her lover. Can you bring Misa here? Crimson immediately refused. I'm afraid not. If Misa disappears, Khan and Gary will get suspicious. I understand, Hansu replied happily, thinking to himself. I can't believe he was actually planning to kidnap Misa and bring her here to meet me. How kind of him, but also incredibly creepy. Do you want anything else? Hansu feigned hesitation and replied, If I survive this ordeal, please just let me go. By the time I get to see Misa, I will have already taken your life, so you won't be alive for much longer anyway. That is my only wish. Crimson, though confused, agreed, Fine, I will do that. Then I shall swear it. The contract was set. As soon as Crimson stopped speaking, Hansu felt a pain so intense it felt like dying, and he said there wouldn't be any pain. It was all a lie. Watching Hansu writhe in agony, Crimson calmly said, Farewell. I'll be sure to pass your words on to Misa. Just then Hansu suddenly smiled and said, That won't be possible. Misa has already passed on before me. What do you mean? Crimson stared at Hansu with a look of astonishment. Hansu didn't answer. Instead, he delivered a sharp uppercut, sending Crimson flying backward. Caught off guard, Crimson roared in anger. You dare trick me! Hansu immediately fired back. Hey, I'm the one who should be saying that. Who said you would not cause me pain that hurt like hell? This pain has officially turned our relationship into that of sworn enemies. Impossible. How are you still alive? Crimson stared at Hansu with wide eyes. I'll answer that after you're dead. Hansu rotated his shoulders, preparing to strike. The magic binding him had weakened. Thanks to the blessing of an outsider, his life force had been prolonged. A pathetic little brat like you, and you're still breathing. You agreed to let me go if I survived, didn't you? You really should keep your promise, don't you think? Hansu said to Crimson while stepping forward to pick up his knife. He then scanned the room, looking at the captured elves. He stopped in front of a girl with blue hair. You will be the first and my witness. With that, he raised the knife and slashed through the chains wrapped around her arms. Then he hoisted her onto his shoulder and ran toward the door. Seeing this, Crimson bellowed, Hold it right there, where do you think you're going? Not happening, ha-ha, village chief. I told you that you had to keep your promise. Hansu replied triumphantly. According to the previous vow, the chief couldn't touch him until he met Misa. But since she was already dead, how could he possibly meet her? But Crimson wasn't one to be trifled with. He tried to break the vow by releasing the lifespan he had taken from Hansu, just as Crimson thought he had won. A sudden violent surge of pain caused him to vomit a mouthful of fresh blood, and his power vanished. What's wrong? Hansu asked, looking him over, then let out an, Oh, so your powers are gone, huh? Ever since being attacked by black magic, Hansu felt as though his eyes had awakened a new ability. Crimson couldn't seem to process the shock. He kept screaming, I can't believe it! Even after taking so many lives, I have never been harmed. Are you some kind of immortal vampire, you damn bastard? What on earth are you? Hansu was about to answer when he received a system notification from the god warning him not to reveal the truth. So he made a sharp pivot and replied, I'm an outsider, you old fart! The god was rolling around in frustration, feeling embarrassed. I'm glad you're happy, Lord, Hansu thought to himself. He continued to monitor Crimson's status. Seeing him constantly coughing up blood, a thought occurred to Hansu. This village chief is level 16. Is level Saun. Killing him would grant a ton of experience, right? No, first, I need to get out of here. Thinking this, Hansu smiled and bade Crimson farewell. But before he could even reach the door, he heard the chief scream, "I will never forgive you. I will kill you and eat you." Hansu flashed a smirk and said goodbye to Crimson, but before he could even reach the door, he heard the man screaming, "I will never forgive you. I'm going to kill you and eat you alive. You have ruined everything I've worked so hard for all this time. I'm going to tear you to pieces." Crimson roared, lunging forward with razor-sharp claws in a surprise attack that left Hansu no time to react. A long gash tore across his chest. He was caught off guard. How could he not be? This is the sword technique of the Jinan-kin, Crimson boasted, convinced the strike would finish Hansu off. "I wanted to use it on the elves, but I suppose you'll have to do instead." But he was wrong. After a moment, as blood flowed like a river, the wounds gradually healed and vanished, as if nothing had ever happened, leaving Crimson terrified and instantly packing his bags to run for his life. Unfortunately for him, as he passed by the green-haired elf, she grabbed his leg and held him back, preventing his escape. Hansu delivered a lethal blow, but it still wasn't over. The monster still had another head. Thinking to himself, Hansu raised his blade, preparing to finish off that remaining Jinan head. "You damn mage. I haven't even been able to get revenge for my daughter yet." Saying this, the Jinan welled up with tears and murmured, "I'm sorry, my love. Rest in peace, father." Hansu spoke, then decisively ended the Jinan's life. Once finished, he released the elves, gathered the villagers, and the soldiers arrived to help him sort everything out. That was the story from a minute ago. Right now, Hansu is running for his life, being chased, and by some miracle, he's sprinting straight toward a cliff's edge. "Damn it, you damned elves, just what the hell are you thinking?" Just before he was about to be riddled with arrows, Hansu chose to jump off the cliff, thinking to himself, "One day we will meet again." Back at the academy, the newbie heroes were turning on each other just to be taken on as Athena's disciples. But when the masters soon to become the supreme rulers appeared, the situation was handled in an instant. As masters of the heroes, countless mages had pursued this noble title. After accepting the heroes, the lesson continued. Magic relies heavily on one's imagination, so focus was crucial. Athena lectured passionately. Thanks to her guidance, the heroes were now able to conjure fire. Just then, a curly-haired youth asked, "Princess, could we apply mathematics to this?" Athena stared blankly and replied, "Math? That's stuff merchants have to learn? Well, with magic, two is always better than one, but the efficiency drops significantly. I mean applying math to the magic itself. Like using calculations to—" Before the curly-haired guy could finish, the princess interrupted. "No, that's not possible." "Is that so?" the boy said, feeling deflated. Seeing this, Athena began to tease him. "Hero, what math did you use to create that fireball? You can use magic because your teacher knows how to use fire magic." The curly-haired boy wouldn't give up. "I still don't believe it. I still think I can become a mage." Utilizing his knowledge from the modern world, a fire element mage stepped forward to agree with the curly-haired boy. "You're not wrong, Princess Athena, but there's a point you haven't quite explained correctly. Math can absolutely be applied to magic. Since the princess used the fireball as an example, I'll use that to explain. The princess has only learned the theory, so perhaps she isn't aware that we do apply mathematics to increase magic efficiency." Another mage chimed in, creating an ice orb and tossing it into the air. "In war, we need to avoid wasting energy when it isn't necessary. To fire a fireball elsewhere, the angle is crucial. Furthermore, you need to calculate the trajectory and wind speed." The fire mage said this while precisely launching a fireball to neutralize the ice orb. Amidst the awe of the heroes, the fire mage turned to the curly-haired boy with satisfaction and said, "Is this what you were asking about?" "That's right," the curly-haired boy stammered. "So does this mean now—" Beyond Princess Athena, the heroes were now being mentored by outstanding mages. Under their dedicated guidance, the heroes quickly began to master magic. Returning to the elves, saved by Hansu Espresso, the maid accompanying the elf princess was having medicine applied by another elf. Due to the pain, Espresso was quite irritable while being treated. But unfortunately, this was the only thing anyone could do to help ease her suffering. Only the power of a saintess would be enough to heal her. But there was no reason the only two saintesses in the world would use their power to heal a lowly elf. "Unlike her, we will catch that man, just rest easy." After saying this, the elf applying the medicine quickly retreated. This was likely the doing of that village chief Crimson. The remaining villagers could be accomplices too. "I'll report the village after returning to the kingdom," Espresso thought to herself. Just then another elf came to inform her. "I heard the mercenaries lost his trail." "Why are you telling me this? Why should I care about that human?" The other elf clasped her hands together and said timidly, "But after all, he is our savior." Espresso seemed triggered and shouted, "And what about the princess's dagger that he has on him?" "Don't be deceived. Humans are just beasts. They aren't worth trusting. Espresso. But we were saved by him. That's why I've kept my mouth shut. We didn't ask him to kill him either. It was just a bunch of low-life monsters tearing each other apart, that's all. The other elf disagreed, calling him a monster. Just then, the green-haired elf, the first one rescued by Hansu, pushed the door open and said angrily, "Espresso, what exactly is your problem?" "Counselor Celeste, are you all right?" The pink-haired elf rushed over to support Celeste. Celeste, an elf of royal blood whose name meant Holy Sun, was the heir to the throne. Because she was immortal, she was the most special toy of the village chief Crimson, and also the one he had held captive for the longest time. "Answer me." Celeste leaned on the pink-haired elf and continued to question Espresso. "Counselor, please calm down. We will report this to the higher-ups." End it. What do you mean by that?" "Nothing is over yet. Even if he managed to escape on his own, he is still my savior," Espresso declared with her cynical gray-tinted view of the world. "He still stubbornly insists that all he wants is your immortality. Do you even realize he used a dark magic pact?" Sleepless's expression darkened as he said Hansu had violated the pact, and every violation comes with a price, just like how the Crimson Village chief died for disregarding Hansu's life. "Poor Espresso," Sleepless said regretfully. "Back when you used to run around the palace so carefree, now that's all just a memory." Espresso pouted and replied, "You don't understand how I feel at all. The feeling of despair and humiliation, of course I don't understand because I'm not you. But I must find him." The pink-haired one worriedly tried to advise the commissioner. "Your condition is still very poor. If we meet again, don't call me commissioner anymore. This old woman can't handle such a heavy title." Saying that, Sleepless turned around and walked away decisively. Hansu's outsider god secretly followed everything, then returned to the spot where Hansu had fallen. A certain god asked the outsider if he was still alive or dead. Can't you see for yourself?" Hansu, dangling from a tree branch, said discontentedly, "Heroes who want to learn swordsmanship, please come this way." Asens led everyone into a luxurious banquet hall. "Whoa, what is this? Is it break time or something? Shouldn't we be practicing swordsmanship first? Why is break time so early?" Overwhelmed and suspicious, everyone found a seat at the banquet table. Once everyone was settled, Asens raised his teacup and said, "It is a pleasure to welcome the heroes who have chosen the path of the sword." The line of people sitting on the right followed Asens's movement, raising their cups and shouting in unison, "Welcome!" The shout startled the new heroes. Asens set his cup down and smiled gently, saying, "I was quite surprised to overhear your conversation. The training you all have in mind is not just about swinging swords. I will give a simple example so you can understand." Asens looked toward a muscular man. Sitting on the right, he asked, "Captain of the Knights, would you be willing to have a match?" "Yes, it is my honor." The captain of the knights replied loudly, then left his seat and walked to an empty space. Asens picked up a sword, walked opposite him, and smiled as he spoke. "First, we will show you the swordsmanship you usually think of. Don't hold back your swordsmanship, Captain." The captain of the knights drew his sword and nodded. "I understand." As Asens and the captain of the knights fought, the new heroes sitting at the table watched while whispering, "This is incredible, but isn't this just normal swordsmanship?" Right then, the captain of the knights caught an opening. He let out a soft grunt and swung his sword, knocking the sword out of Asens's hand. Asens grabbed his injured arm and complimented, "That move of yours was excellent, Captain." The captain of the knights humbly replied, "You are too kind, sir." Asens picked up his sword again and said, "And now I will show you the swordsmanship you will learn from me while waiting for someone to use magic to heal his arm." Asens smiled and instructed, "Captain, you don't need to go easy on me." "It is my honor," the captain of the knights replied, then gripped his weapon with both hands, his face becoming extremely serious. It could be seen with the naked eye. The sword began to glow and emitted streams of blue energy. On the opposite side, streams of energy appeared around Asens, and the sword in his hand lit up as well. "Ah!" The captain of the knights shouted and slashed toward Asens. Asens did the same, slashing in a line. The two swords collided, erupting in blinding light. A second later, a broken piece of the sword flew into the air. The captain of the knights held the remaining half of his blade and whispered, "I have lost." Asens praised him, "But you have improved quite a lot, Captain." The captain of the knights bowed and said, "Thank you for the compliment." The new heroes looked confused, wondering, "Wait, what just happened? Is that all?" Seeing this, Asens smiled and explained, "Focusing power to destroy someone else's weapon with just one strike, this is true swordsmanship. Never mind the Demon King, you might not even be able to defeat a Steel Knight at this rate." A new hero spoke up, "I understand now. So it's about ability. Asins returned to his position and smiled, saying, "So you all understand now, right? We will start right now then. Heroes, please try taking a sip of the tea in front of you." The new heroes followed Asins's instruction. "Ugh, it tastes terrible," complaints echoed across their faces. Asins maintained his smile and reminded them, "In swordsmanship, the warrior's blessing is essential. This tea contains medicine so that you can receive that blessing easily. So please try to get used to it. As a warrior, you are someone who has been through countless life or death moments, and you have the right to become stronger to defeat all enemies with compassion and justice." Even knowing the purpose of the tea, many new heroes were still hesitant and did not dare take a second sip, except for Choi Kang-min. He downed the rest of the tea in his cup in one go and said, "Give me another cup." "If it's too hard, everyone can try some desserts," Asen suggested with a look of interest toward Choi Kang-min, then ordered, "Captain, give hero Choi Kang-min another cup." Yes, of course. The system notified that a certain goddess was curious about the taste of the tea. A certain water god. While trying to stop his curious friend, a certain kind god, who looks at the heroes with pitying eyes, returns to Hansu, who is currently sitting in a tree silently reflecting. That was close. I didn't have a knoll to shield me this time, but thank goodness there are plenty of trees down here. It's a good thing I bribed the gatekeeper, otherwise I'd have been caught by now. Suddenly, a group of gnolls approaches. They spot Hansu up in the tree. "Meet up there. Look at that piece of meat. Come down here, meat." Hansu looks toward the group of gnolls and thinks to himself, "They're always so friendly with their greetings. Right now I feel like these gnolls are more trustworthy than the humans or the fairies," or so he thinks. Hansu suddenly smirks and whispers, "Ah, right. As it happens, I have the question too." "All right then." Hansu jumps down from the tree. He only needs a few basic moves to take care of them all. Looking at the group of gnolls lying defeated on the ground, he asks himself, slightly unsure, "Is it just me, or was that too easy because there were so few of them?" The system notifies him that a certain god is looking at him with boredom. Hansu clenches his fist and surmises, "It seems my body has gotten much stronger. What's going on? Did I level up without noticing?" Talking to himself. Hansu opens his personal status window to check name Kang Hansu level 1 blessing outsider F. Hero's Curse. E-ratio 3.43. Nothing has changed. Wait, no. There is one thing. Seeing the ratio 3.43 line, Hansu speaks up, "Outsider God, what is this ratio thing?" Only that stat went up. The system notifies him that a certain god is laughing at him for not knowing what the ratio is. Hansu asks, "So do you know? Do you know?" The system notifies him that a certain god specifically advises him that the more of that, the better. "Oh, thanks for that." Finally got some useful info from him. Now Hansu says to himself, then looks down at a gray gnoll that isn't dead yet, questioning, "There are a few things I want to ask. If you can answer me, that would be great. I still haven't cooled down from my anger toward those fairies. Understand?" Hearing the mention of fairies, the gray gnoll's eyes light up as he asks, "Fairies, do you have fairy meat?" Hansu replies, "Yes." The gray gnoll urges, then ask quickly. Recalling the encounter with Crimson, Hansu asks, "How is the gnoll style of swordsmanship used?" Hansu thinks, "I'm still very weak. Even if I hit level 2, revenge is still a long way off. Perhaps learning some gnoll swordsmanship wouldn't be bad. At the very least, I'd be a bit stronger." The gray gnoll hearing Hansu's question tilts his head back, licks his lips, and says, "Meat fresh, raw meat is the tastiest." Looking at the gray gnoll, Hansu asks curiously, "Why are your eyes turning red?" The gray gnoll replies, "I know what that is, it's the power of meat." "So how do you use the power of meat?" The gray gnoll says definitively, "Eat a lot of meat." Hansu asks again, "I want to see that power. What do you usually eat?" "Meat. Sorry, stupid question." With that, Hansu rests his chin on his hand in deep thought. Gnoll swordsmanship, the power of meat. It doesn't seem like much. Do I really have to study their lifestyle for the sake of a perfect revenge? While Hansu is busy planning for himself over at the school, the first lesson on swordsmanship continues, even though talent is needed for magic. But if you all have the time and money, you can learn swordsmanship. In addition to the knowledge about magic, Asus is lecturing when Choi Kang-min with a pale face shouts to interrupt, "One more cup." Asus isn't angry, just laughs and says, "Haha, hero Choi Kang-min, you can stop drinking now. The effect will decrease if you drink more than once." Looking at the teacup in his hand, Choi Kang-min thinks, "But I need to get stronger as fast as I can. I'm on a completely different level than these fakes here." Just then, a servant approaches behind Choi Kang-min with a teapot and advises, "It would be more effective if you finished with a bit of honey tea." Asus also advises consistency is what's important after all. 1 cup a day, 2 at most if you're greedy. Choi Kang-min firmly states, 2 cups a day, I'll try that. Asus happily says, very good. However, the warrior's blessing won't stabilize in a short time, just as a child cannot become an adult overnight. Choi Kang-min asks in confusion, then how long will it take? Asus replies, it takes a different amount of time for each individual, but if you keep absorbing it like you did at the beginning, you'll have it within a year. Choi Kang-min shouts in disbelief. Within a year! Suddenly, a purple light appears in front of Choi Kang-min and his personal status board pops up with some new information. Name Choi Kang-min Level 1 Blessing. Hero F Grit. F. Curse None. Ratio 1.11. A blessing. Choi Kang-min happily whispers. He immediately clicks to check. Grit. The longer you fight, the stronger you become. The effect resets if you are defeated or lose the will to fight. Choi Kang-min covers his mouth and gasps. Unbelievable. The system notifies him that a god of war says proudly that it's hard to believe while a certain martial god scoffs. Asus claps his hands and laughs. I sincerely congratulate you, Hero Choi Kang-min. A blessing from the god of war, no less. I hold you in high regard. Choi Kang-min shyly scratches his cheek. You're too kind. Asus continues with a smile. All right now. First, I will show you all how to hide your status window. 2 days pass. Hansu is still traveling through the forest with the gray knoll. Meat, meat, meat. Hansu stands watching the gray knoll devouring his prey deep in thought. It's already been 2 days. Ever since I started following this guy. Observing the knoll's power, it noticed Hansu was distracted. Its eyes flashed with a cold light. It immediately abandoned its prey, turned and attacked him. Hansu spoke calmly. Oh, for the past few days, this knoll has been trying to hunt me down every time I show an opening, though it never succeeds. This time is no different. Hansu simply kicked it away and frowned. Don't just leave it lying there. Hansu felt this knoll was strangely weak. He checked its status board, name Broken Fang due to a level 6 arrow, blessed no curse. 0.00, Hansu questioned. You level 6. The knoll held up an arm wrapped in 2 rings to show off. That's right, look at the proof. Fairy meat, fairy heads, my prey. This guy said the agile gnolls got the fairy's hair right. Hansu thought for a moment and asked, answer me. Why did a weak scum like you manage to hunt 2 fairies? The gnoll retorted, wrong, I am very strong. A talking piece of meat, what a strange piece of meat. Hansu ignored it and asked, can you see my level? The gnoll replied, I can't see it, but I know a level 1 piece of meat is easy to eat. Hansu, annoyed, stepped forward and punched the gnoll in the head, making it cry out in pain. He wondered to himself, does it know because of some kind of trait? After spending days with the gnoll observing and interrogating it like this, besides learning the gnoll's traits, Hansu had gathered a vast amount of information about other species. Suddenly the gnoll pointed in a direction and shouted, this way, this way! Hansu asked, what's in that direction? The gnoll replied, lots of fairy meat, tons of it. Really? Hansu smirked, thinking, the location of the village that ambushed me when I arrived. And I've confirmed that the past the village chief spoke of wasn't a lie but the truth. Just then the gnoll shouted, the meat was stolen. Hansu pressed, by the fairies. The gnoll yelled, fairy meat is bad. Rabbit meat is good. I like meat. Seeing the gnoll start eating its prey again, Hansu thought. The changes in its body are becoming obvious. Power gradually rises from the gnoll's belly every time it eats something. It's easier and simpler than the village chief using dark magic to steal vitality, even if the effect is a bit lower. Hansu thought, then smiled and asked the gnoll, how's the taste? Are you full yet? The gnoll raised its head to the sky and roared, full! It feels wonderful meat. I want more meat. More that talking piece of meat is mine. As it spoke, the gnoll's fur turned red and its body grew larger. It bared its fangs and lunged at Hansu. Hansu acted as if he had already foreseen it. He wasn't afraid at all, and actively charged toward the gnoll. If you looked closely, Hansu's fist was emitting the same red light as when the Crimson used gnoll swordsmanship. Thanks a lot. Thanks to you, I found out why. It is correctly called the power of meat. With that, Hansu used the very move he had learned from observing the gnoll to slice it in 2. The dying gnoll lay on the ground looking up at Hansu. The talking piece of meat is strong. How? Hansu smiled. We've only been together for a short time, but it was very useful. Thanks. The knoll, its fang broken by the arrow, questioned, "Is the talking piece of meat a knoll too?" Hansu denied, "No, I am human." Hansu looked at his glowing red hand and whispered. Something like a chemical reaction was stirred up by those intense emotions. How amazing! And that is the knoll's greed wanting to maintain that feeling of being full furthermore. The system notified him that a god of devourers was very surprised by the outsider's change. A god dreamt that this was the power of meat. Hansu mused, "I didn't think anyone would be able to use it. If I didn't have the outsider's blessing, wouldn't I have died the moment I used the power with my vitality completely drained? Although it seems the gnolls fill it with meat. With the outsider's blessing, before I run out of energy, it gets refilled by the blessing, and it refills every time it's depleted. It's an infinite loop. That's pretty cool, right?" The system notified him that a god mocked him. "You're so childish, let's go." With that, Hansu bolted in the direction the gnoll had pointed earlier. He hadn't gone far before two gnolls appeared ahead. "Smell of meat. We'll get out of the way," Hansu shouted, swinging his fist to finish them off neatly. Then he kept sprinting. The system notified him that a god was very surprised. As he sped along, Hansu thought angrily, "Even though I've gotten stronger, I don't feel happy at all. I should have been chilling in my cozy bed scrolling through my phone by now. But instead I'm stuck here using this nasty jagged dagger. Not to mention wandering through a forest crawling with man-eating monsters. The system says a god is pointing left. Oh, how helpful, thanks a lot." Hansu followed the directions, and soon enough he spotted a towering wooden wall in the distance. He drew his dagger, flashed a grin, and wondered, should I go and teach these savages a lesson? Fantasy world style, using all this power. Two guards were patrolling, chatting about nonsense the whole way. Kang Hansu hid in a bush watching them. He thought, I was going to sneak in from behind, but security is way tighter than I expected. Kang Hansu mused, good thing I memorized the village layout beforehand. Suddenly a god appeared behind him. A god was urging him, go now! Kang Hansu was startled. Huh? He mumbled, confused. Why the sudden rush? Before he could even finish that thought, the god kicked him in the back. A god insisted that it was time to move right now. Kang Hansu was baffled, wondering, why is that god suddenly trying to help me? I have no clue what's going on in their head. But he still bolted after the guards. My instincts are telling me the same thing, he thought. Kang Hansu looked up at the towering wall. Can I really pull this off? This is my chance. He slammed his dagger straight into the wall. He used the momentum to vault high into the air. He landed safely behind the wall and popped up, scanning his surroundings. No one's keeping watch here. Guess I got lucky. The god appeared beside him again. A god was gloating, you should be grateful. Kang Hansu smiled. Yeah, thanks. I'm always grateful. He smirked. Now for my next move. One guard was humming a tune, totally relaxed as he patrolled. Suddenly, Kang Hansu's hand clamped onto the guard's shoulder, making him jump. He looked back only to see Kang Hansu's eyes glowing red. He drove the dagger straight into the guard's neck. Blood sprayed everywhere, and the man went limp, unable to put up any fight at all. Blood kept gushing from the neck and pouring out of the man's mouth. Kang Hansu watched him collapse to the ground, looking unimpressed. A bit messy, but I don't see... What's the difference between killing a person and killing a monster? He stood there watching, muttering, but this guy, nobody's gonna cry for him when he's gone. But the guard raised his hands in surrender, pleading, I have a family too. Kang Hansu grabbed the guard's leg the man was done for and muttered, and I almost died and never would have seen mine again. Only because of you people. I won't let you trample on me anymore. A god appeared in the air next to Kang Hansu, a god who was staring right at you, provoking you. There were 3 moons in the sky tonight. Kang Hansu exhaled and tossed one of the guards' bodies aside. He looked at the pile of dead guards he'd already dealt with. Too quiet, isn't it? If this many people are dead, shouldn't someone have noticed by now? Kang Hansu felt puzzled. Infiltrating is fun, and there's plenty of stuff to play with, but I only see mercenaries. How am I supposed to find the elves? A god appeared beside him, arms crossed, saying, a god looks down on you with contempt. Kang Hansu kept thinking, elves and humans both need to use the bathroom right. So why haven't I seen a single elf? The god kept provoking him, laughing at his slow-wittedness. Kang Hansu snapped, don't be such a jerk. Suddenly, Kang Hansu froze, spotting something. In the distance, a man and a woman were walking toward him holding lanterns. Behind them, they were dragging 2 people with their heads bagged and tied up. Kang Hansu hid behind a door. He peeked, whispering, well, this is interesting. In another scene, Kang Mi-zeon was tucked in sound asleep. A hand reached toward the bed trying to cover her nose, but she stirred, waking up. Kang Mi-zeon quickly realized someone was trying to kidnap her and bit the guy's hand hard. He bagged her head, but she caught a glimpse of half his face. He told her to shut up and quit the chatter. Kang Mi-zeon, tied up with a bag over her head, sat by the bed while the two kidnappers talked. One pointed at the other's hand and asked, "How'd your hand get scratched like that?" He replied, "Ah, she bit me when I tried to cover her mouth." He clicked his tongue. "You gotta be more careful." The two villains dragged Kang Mi-zeon away. "Come with us," they commanded, constantly shoving her forward. "Keep moving." Inside the bag, Kang Mi-zeon thought to herself, "Are the others getting captured too?" Suddenly, Kang Mi-zeon heard a strange sound. It was the echo of the village chief. A blue-haired girl said sternly, "Crimson believed that we were ignorant of our own actions, but we've just been turning a blind eye to his, because we wanted to protect our new way of life." Kang Mi-zeon tried to listen, guessing, "Is that the doctor from earlier?" The blue-haired girl's voice rang out before the group of tied-up, hooded elves. "This is your fitting punishment." She emphasized every word as if weighing down on them. "Punishment for letting our dear friend fight all alone." A blonde guy spoke up anxiously. "I heard it in the cafeteria these elves look down on humans. If we let them live, they'll just take over our homes and families again." A bald guy crossed his arms, frowning. "I told the others to stay inside, because something's about to go down in the village. Even the mercenaries should be out here by now." The blue-haired girl closed her eyes, calm and cold. "Let's begin." The blonde guy and the guy with braids grabbed their swords, growling, "In the name of Crimson for our fallen comrade!" They stabbed their swords straight into the elves without a hint of mercy. Blood sprayed like rain. The bald guy was even more vicious, stabbing repeatedly, grinding his teeth. Kang Mi-zeon collapsed, tears welling up in the corners of her eyes, blood flowing from her mouth. "Goodbye, Espresso." All the elves lay dead, scattered across the ground. The group looked at each other and said, "Now there's only one left." They stared at Celopus, who was sitting in the chair, and asked each other, "What should we do with this one?" Celopus, without a hint of fear, replied bluntly, "Is your lack of objectivity that intense?" Her gaze sharpened as she stared straight at them. "Won't it be incomplete until you kill me too?" The braided-haired man broke into a sweat. "I mean, I caught her when she tried to escape the village." But the blonde man cut in. "But she has a fairly high rank. How will we retaliate if we don't hit her?" Celopus bowed her head sadly and said, "I completely understand how you feel." They felt a bit of hesitation at the mention of Kang Hansu, but... "Killing our savior." Celopus raised her voice. "The fact that you're trying to keep your secret makes me feel so indignant." The blonde man set a condition for the female counselor. "If you swear to keep this secret, we will let you go." Celopus yelled back at him in anger. "Do you really believe a deal based on threats will be honored?" The blue-haired girl spoke up. "Counselor Celopus, why did you have to say that? We could have let you go even if you lied." Celopus sneered with contempt, using this opportunity to let them know that a fairy does not lie just to save her own life. The bald man thrust his sword straight toward Celopus without mercy, saying, "Well, we have no other choice. We'll make it as painless as possible." Suddenly, someone's voice rang out, causing the bald man to swing his blade, but then he suddenly froze. "Is that really so?" Celopus had already closed her eyes, bracing herself, but upon hearing that voice, she opened her eyes in surprise. She looked up and saw the bald man's severed head flying through the air. Celopus was stunned, unable to believe her eyes. How is this possible?" Kang Hansu stood tall and relaxed his sword, resting on his shoulder, looming right in front of Celopus. He glanced at her, remaining silent for a long time. Celopus stared back at him, completely dumbfounded. As if saying something in her own language, Kang Hansu also widened his eyes in surprise. "Huh, looks like we've met again." But first, Kang Hansu had to finish off the rest of these scumbags. The blonde man and the braided man, who were so aggressive earlier, now backed away in fear, whispering something to each other. But Kang Hansu couldn't understand a word of their language. "Should I take care of the others first?" Kang Hansu lunged to attack the braided man. The man scrambled to the side in a panic, cursing something that Kang Hansu couldn't understand. Kang Hansu muttered, "Whether it's fairies, villagers, or the village chief, I planned on killing everyone according to my original plan." The girl with the blue bun sat hunched over on the ground. Trembling with fear, she said something to the group that had just been knocked down. She shook like a mouse about to freeze to death, tears welling up in her eyes as she begged, "Please save me." Kang Hansu stopped his sword in front of her, letting out a soft, "Oh." He realized he understood the language. It would be really great to understand something. But it was a pity the men had already been wiped out by Kang Hansu lying scattered on the ground with blood spraying like a river. The blue-haired girl frantically ran toward a wooden door. She tried to open it. Kang Hansu just stood there, waiting to see what she would do. Without hesitation, he threw his blade straight through her skull. It was so fast, she only had time to let out one scream. She didn't even have time to react. Kang Hansu was still in the pose he had held after throwing the blade. It was truly accurate to the millimeter. Kang Hansu looked at his trophies scattered on the ground with satisfaction. It was easier than I imagined. It was a good idea to deal with the others first. Celeplis seemed to want to say something to Kang Hansu. She spoke at great length, but Kang Hansu just stood there blankly and asked, "What on earth are you saying?" Looking at her, Kang Hansu saw a status window. Name Celeplis. Level 12. Blessing living creature control, C. Inherited purity, B. Noble's curse, B. Kang Hansu was surprised that he could even see this status window. I didn't see this at first. Did she show it to me on purpose? Kang Hansu couldn't help but be surprised, because he only had one blessing, but she had two, and their ranks were quite high. Then Kang Hansu received another notification for himself. Living creature control. The attributes of the creatures you control will slightly increase. The success rate for taming highly alert creatures will increase significantly. He was even more shocked. Is this a blessing exclusively for taming creatures? Even though it's a high rank, it's useless if there are no animals around. Kang Hansu pondered for a moment. There was only one reason she showed him her status window. Kang Hansu approached Celeplis and asked, "Is your name Celeplis?" She chirped happily, saying a lot of things, but Kang Hansu could only catch the last word, Celeplis, her name. She seemed extremely happy and joyful. Her eyes crinkled into smiles. Kang Hansu stared at her like a soul lost. "I can't feel anything, perhaps because I'm an outsider to this blessing." But then the god appeared beside Kang Hansu looking angry. The god was extremely annoyed and emphasized, "That is an outsider!" Kang Hansu was speechless at his attitude. Kang Hansu knelt on one knee beside Celeplis and picked up his blade, intending to untie her. He answered the god, Yeah, I get it. If I'm still an outsider, I'll get a penalty right." Kang Hansu sighed lightly. Celeplis said something else to him, but he didn't understand a single thing. Kang Hansu told her, "You really are a lucky fairy." As he cut the ropes for Celeplis, he added, "Although I originally intended to take care of all of them, because you have similar experiences to me. That's why I let you live." Kang Hansu blamed himself. "I already told those natives my name in this world. That was a huge mistake." Celeplis was overjoyed to have escaped death. Kang Hansu prepared to leave and told her, "Take care of yourself." Kang Hansu thought to himself, if I killed all the fairies here, then I wouldn't be any different from those people. Suddenly, Celeplis stumbled, leaning against the chair. She said something and then lunged toward Kang Hansu. He quickly caught her by the waist to steady her. Kang Hansu irritably told Celebes to stop causing him more trouble, but Celebes just kept smiling and saying things repeatedly, mentioning Kang Hansu's name. He was taken aback and asked, "You know my name?" Celebes called his name again with a radiant smile, saying something he couldn't understand. Under the 3 full bright moons in the sky, Kang Hansu and Celebes set off. He looked at his surroundings in surprise, wondering how it could be so quiet despite the many dead bodies on the road. Kang Hansu spoke up, "Respected bystander god, what do you think is the cause of this?" The god appeared walking beside him with arms crossed in thought and replied, I'm not in the mood to talk," leaving Kang Hansu speechless at such a useless response. It was like getting an answer that meant nothing at all. He replied, "All right, fine." He thought to himself, "I really need to get rid of this fairy." To calm the god's anger, Kang Hansu looked around feeling helpless, thinking, "I can't trust anyone in this village and the forest is crawling with monsters." It was getting very late, and this place was far too dangerous, so they needed to get out. Kang Hansu and Celebes took off into the dark night like a gust of wind, with Kang Hansu carrying her as they flew through the forest like a pair of birds. Celebes seemed frightened, nestling into Kang Hansu's arms, calling his name and saying something. Kang Hansu felt helpless, thinking, "What on earth? How am I supposed to understand what she's saying?" She looked serious, pointing upward and saying something. Kang Hansu looked up, following her hand. Up there, something seemed to be burning. He was shocked by what he saw: a phoenix. The phoenix was flying in the air, seemingly ready to roar. Its flames shot toward them. Celebes was still humming happily, but Kang Hansu looked at her with concern, knowing that while he was fine, thanks to his cheats in every situation, she would be burned to a crisp. Celebes tugged at Kang Hansu's shirt and said something else. He asked, Do you want me to let you down? She replied with something that sounded like, yes, exactly. Kang Hansu pushed his luck, asking, You want me to leave you here? Because I'm a burden, and you want me to run away and fly off, right? Celebes nodded as if to say, That's right. So, Celebes walked straight up to the fire phoenix and said something to it. But it seemed this creature, it understood the language of fairies. Kang Hansu watched wide-eyed and bewildered as she used her blessing to control the living creature. Had she become its companion? Celebes turned back and called Kang Hansu, smiling happily and saying something. She even said her own name, Celebes. And then she hopped over to Kang Hansu, talking incessantly, though no one could understand a word. Kang Hansu asked, frustrated, What in the world are you saying? Celebes kissed him, and the god screamed, shocked by the unexpected turn of events, while Kang Hansu pushed her away, covering his mouth. He asked again, What do you think you're doing? Celebes just smiled even more contentedly at him. The fire phoenix squinted, seemingly angry, and roared out flames that surrounded them both. Kang Hansu panicked. What the hell is happening? He shielded his face with his hands. Celebes had climbed onto the fire phoenix, calling his name one last time as if saying goodbye, and the phoenix pushed off the ground. It flew into the sky, carrying Celebes away. Kang Hansu stood frozen, watching as Celebes and the phoenix faded into the distance. The god appeared, grabbed 2 handfuls of Kang Hansu's hair, and yanked hard. The god emphasized that the outsider had committed a flagrant crime. Kang Hansu jolted, Wait, slow down. But the god, fuming with anger and gritting its teeth, began passing judgment on the sinner. Kang Hansu, with his hair being pulled painfully, raised his hands in surrender. I'm angry about this too. Kang Hansu covered his mouth, grumbling. My first time. I can't believe she repaid my kindness with such harassment. Suddenly, Kang Hansu's eyes lit up. A notification board appeared before him. What was this? He looked at the screen. Foreigner's blessing. Fairykin hero's curse. Interest rate 4.85. Kang Hansu rejoiced at the new high-ranking blessing even as the god sat on his head, huffing and puffing. The god glared at him with lethal intensity, clearly extremely annoyed. Kang Hansu smiled to reassure the god. These things happen in life, you know. You know how it is. The god grabbed his head again, emphasizing their extreme displeasure, but Kang Hansu only cared about the board, fairy. You have been designated as a friend to the fairies. Your lifespan and youth have increased. All influences and positive comments received from fairies are being rapidly amplified. Kang Hansu pondered, Is this a good thing? Kang Hansu was secretly calculating. My lifespan and youth have increased similar to the outsider's blessing, but what if I combine the outsider and the fairy traits? With the average lifespan that we can use, the god leaped off Kang Hansu's head and started nagging you, complaining that you were already too happy with it. Kang Hansu scratched his head and said, The reason I'm happy is because I've already broken up with that fairy. The god froze upon hearing his words, then broke into a cheerful smile. The god seemed much more at ease now. Kang Hansu just shook his head at how easily fooled he was, then turned to the god and asked, Hey, outsider, shall we go a bit further? As he looked toward the other side. A werewolf stood looming in the distance. Kang Hansu leaped up from behind, wrapped his arms around its neck, and called out, Hey, how's it going? He asked the wolf. When it saw Kang Hansu, it only saw meat, a tasty snack. Kang Hansu smirked and said, Mind if I have a look around your place? The next morning, Asus and Athena Archmazing stood before the group. Asus said, It's been 3 days since you all arrived here. Starting today, after much careful thought, everyone will level up by hunting beasts. He didn't forget to reassure them. Don't be too afraid of it, all right? To prepare for the hunt, the knights began casting summoning spells for the monsters, even though, despite the reassurance, everyone looked restless and worried. Athena Archmazing jumped up excitedly to enter the secret realm, saying, Blessings are absolutely essential. As the rank of your blessings and your levels increase through hunting monsters, your abilities will also grow. The whole group got excited as soon as they heard that. Leveling up. Finally, it's time for some fantasy-style monster hunting. The girls happily chatted among themselves. I heard your skin improves when you level up, is that true? The girl proudly replied, And your figure too. They began their journey to hunt monsters with the guys leading the way. Suddenly hearing a strange noise from the bushes, they turned their heads. He urgently shouted, There's a slime! The others were immediately drawn in. What, where? The slime was terrified, burst into tears, and scrambled away. Asus and Athena Archmazing shouted in unison, Stop right there! The group who were about to swing their swords at the slime stopped in panic. What's wrong? Asus stepped closer to explain. As I told you, that life form is a slime. It's a useful creature that doesn't harm humans. The guys quickly sheathed their swords, looking dejected. Useful as slime. My experience points. Athena Archmazing walked over intending to pick up the slime that was trembling with fear. She said, "That's right. Slimes are scavengers. They eat everything from filth and trash to insects and carcasses. Thanks to them, infectious diseases in the area have been reduced." She picked it up and carried it away. The slime now being held wasn't afraid anymore. Athena Archmazing carefully reminded them, "You all must never attack a slime, okay? They even make great pets. Even if you do try to attack it, you'll just be branded as a savage." The group hung their heads in disappointment and replied, "All right, I'm sorry." Asus clapped his hands to lift their spirits. "It's all right, guys." He continued, "Usually goblins, which are level 2 on average, would be the most suitable target, but today our target is a golem level 4. Everyone was shocked to hear that. "Level 4, but we're only level 1. They felt even more anxious. "Isn't that extremely dangerous?" Athena Archmazing happily reassured them. "Don't worry, we have Saintus with us. Even if you die, you'll just be resurrected." The group whispered fearfully. "Die, we're going to die." Isis smiled confidently and said, "With the people we brought today, we could even take down a level 6 monster. Unless you are incredibly unlucky, it won't get to the point of dying." Suddenly, a massive foot stomped heavily onto the ground. Terrifying monsters appeared with a rumble. Everyone panicked and started shouting, "Ah, they're here! Come on, let's get some experience!" One guy, the most excited one, rushed forward. "Amazing, you all will be mine." He didn't hesitate to charge at them, but he couldn't talk big for long because with just one swipe of the beast's hand, his sword was knocked away. In his hand, he cried out, "Ah, my eyes!" Blood poured endlessly from his eyes. The massive beast stood tall, looking down at him as he knelt on the ground, screaming. He started to tremble in fear, clutching his injured eye and glancing at the monster. Not only that, but others who tried to get close were also attacked and sent flying away. Some had their arms broken. A girl with short blue hair and glasses tried to use magic. "Allow me to use my chemical magic," but she was also swatted away by the monster. She backed away trembling as she looked at her hands. "Why isn't my magic working?" She was distracted. The guy next to her warned, "Hey, pay attention to what's in front of you." The brown-haired girl was so scared she was on the verge of tears before the fight even began. And as expected, they were all beaten to a pulp, screaming in despair. "Ah, save me! Ah!" Asus angrily raised his voice. "That's enough!" He stepped forward and sliced the beast in half with one stroke as easy as pie. Asus had finished off 2 beasts. They were split in 2, lying on the ground. The group lay nearby, screaming. "It hurts! It hurts! What the heck is this? Mom! Mom!" A girl was walking toward Asus. It was Saintess. She spoke up, "Prince Asus, you've worked so hard guiding these heroes." Ansos looked back in surprise, calling out to Princess Sentex, who was kneeling beside the group that had just been beaten to a pulp. There had to be a reason for this. Why would the gods choose these people as heroes and bring them here? A certain Nam deity asked, "Is there really a reason?" A certain deity was left speechless while Sentex just sat there, hands clasped beside those guys. A certain pure deity muttered, "It's a puzzle," while a certain evil deity just shrugged at the wounds on the group. Miraculously, the wounds healed instantly. A dead man sat bolt upright in shock, shouting, "I'm alive, Miss Sentex, please come over here!" Sentex smiled sweetly and praised them gently. "Oh, what a wonderful hero fighting to your last breath." Then added, "Every time you die, I'll just bring you back to life." The sunlight grew harsher as the group continued to struggle against the monsters. A blue-haired guy placed a hand on the shoulder of the moss-green-haired guy beside him and said, "Thanks for buying us some time." The moss-green-haired guy didn't understand at all. What is he talking about? Right after that, the blue-haired guy charged at the monster, throwing himself into the fray with such force that his strike sent the creature flying away. It slammed into a tree, fell, and coughed up blood before dying. The blue-haired guy was satisfied as he received his notifications. One deity was cheering for him while another criticized him for playing dirty. On his status board, he had leveled up Choi Gang Min level 2, Hero's Blessing E Stamina, F Magic, D Speed, F Command, F Profit 3.22. He was overjoyed, finally level 2. He was smugly satisfied, all thanks to this newly acquired blessing. So hunting isn't that hard after all, Choi Gang Min thought as he kept receiving notifications. Increased movement speed for a certain duration. The longer you use the skill, the longer the cooldown time. Command. The squad you command receives a slight power boost. The more reckless the order, the higher the skill effect. Choi Gangmin looked over at the guys who were cheering because the monster had been defeated, thinking they're actually pretty useful. Suddenly, a sound from behind startled him. It was a brown-haired guy and a blonde guy fighting a monster to protect gangmen shouting, "Protect our goddess!" These monsters are nothing to be afraid of. The two of them worked together and successfully took the beast down while the blonde girl Jang Mi-jong stood from afar and said, "Thanks, you two. Thanks to you guys, I just hit level 2. The other girls grew intensely jealous of her. Damn it, Jang Mi-jong muttered to herself. Beauty really is a strength, as a certain deity stared right at her. She started in surprise, "Oh, shoot!" and quickly waved her hands in denial. "We've got nothing going on, I swear," as the goddess of beauty smiled at her, leaving her stunned. Her status board appeared Beauty's Dignity. Exempted from crude gestures such as physiological phenomena and body maintenance is sustained. Jang Mi-jong was thrilled. This is exactly what I needed. The two guys who had helped her earlier acted like gentlemen, saying, "We're men after all. We'll protect you." She feigned sweetness. "Thanks, I trust you guys." Choi Gangmin, watching from the side, thought those two were truly idiots. The two guys who had been with Choi Gangmin scratched their heads, turned away, and said, "Sorry, Gangmin, we'll help you another time." Choi Gangmin was shocked. "What the?" As they added, "We're brothers for life, man," realizing that even his own companions had been charmed by Jang Mi-jong and were heading off to help her. Choi Gangmin smirked. Mi-jong isn't bad at all, and turned to walk toward two other girls standing nearby. Choi Gangmin waved in a friendly manner to greet them. The blonde girl asked, "You want to hunt with us?" "Sure, why not?" A certain deity was busy eating popcorn. The goddess of beauty was watching in a suggestive pose, and a certain war god was excitedly yelling, "All these heroes should just go die." In another scene, the moss-green-haired girl was knocked to the ground, her sword sent flying as the monster struck her, and a notification appeared. "The water god pities you, but she was alone." The monster picked up her sword and moved in to attack while a deity offered popcorn to the water god. The water god wasn't in the mood to eat and refused. The girl struggled to stand, bracing herself. "I can do this." She unleashed magic from her palm, pouring all her strength into an attack against the monster. It was battered by her spell, and the girl sat on the ground in relief. A notification popped up. Name Eubora. Level 2 Outsider's Blessing. F Magic. C Weaponry. F Profit. 2.04. She gasped. "What, I hit level 2. Boss and uncle. Aunts." Eubora smiled, satisfied as she looked at her status board. "Even if I don't level up as fast as the others, this is only the beginning." The water god breathed a sigh of relief. A deity was cheering for her as she stood up, picked up her sword, and left, not forgetting to say thank you. Eubora received another notification. War God. Your body is always a powerful weapon. Any weapon you possess will automatically return to your body. She was stunned. A new blessing. A wooden sword, it should be light enough. Another monster appeared, growling behind Eubora, and lunged at her. Another one. The notification emphasized again, War God. Your body is always a powerful weapon. The aggressive monster closed in on Eubora, but she struck it with a ruthless blow, drawing blood. In pain, Eubora fought with everything she had. The monster reached out to attack her, but she didn't get hurt. The monster stood there, stunned, staring at its own arm. Could it be? Is he useless now? Eubora found an opening to strike it with magic, then poured all her strength into her sword and shrieked, "Die!" A clean, sharp slice severed the beast's head. A notification popped up saying she had reached level 3. Eubora smiled, looking at her arm. "I actually did it." Meanwhile, the group was split into two factions. On one side was Choi Gangmin with 2 girls, and on the other was Jang Mi-jong with 4 goofy guys. They were trying to reassure each other. "Let's keep going. Let's all do our best." High above on the mountain peak, 2 shadows were watching them. A god was still keeping an eye on things, while Athena Archmazing and Ansus stood on the mountain high observing them. The wind god was cheering them on with a cool breeze. The impatient demon god was looking for a seat, and a mysterious god had also arrived as dusk fell. The beast grabbed someone's hand, about to shove it into its mouth as the moon rose in the sky. Is that Kang Hansu? He was fighting the final beast with the carcasses of the other monsters piled up all around the place. A god asked with curiosity, "How many have you killed so far?" Kang Hansu. He checked his status board and replied, "Not sure, I haven't been counting, but probably a few thousand by now." He slumped down onto the carcass of a monster. During the fight, he kept checking his status window, status board name, Kang Hansu, level 1 outsider, F rank, Fairy's Favor, C, Hero's Curse, E, Butcher, E, Gold, 4.46. I got another curse. Things seem to be getting even worse. He looked up at the sky, feeling dejected. Then he looked back at his status board. At this rate, I'll never level up. A certain god felt annoyed. Kang Han-soo didn't know if he was reassuring the god, or reassuring himself, it's fine. I knew growth would become much harder because of that evil god's curse. Notification board. Hero's tongue. Languages of races hostile to the hero will be automatically translated. Experience gained from hunting and achievements is reduced significantly. Kang Han-soo felt panicked. I didn't think it would be reduced this much, though. He gritted his teeth in anger. My level won't go up by even an inch. A god was looking out at the distant galaxy. That god said, today too. In that galaxy there are so many stars. Kang Han-soo asked suspiciously. Did something possess them, or what? He seemed a bit surprised. I thought they were supposed to be happy and having a good time. A god was trying their hardest to look the other way. He stopped caring and looked at his status board, pondering, but anyway, what is this curse? Slaughtering friendly races will make them slightly afraid of you and feel you are very terrifying. The chance of them opposing your cruel actions increases significantly. Kang Han-soo hung his head and sighed. I was forced into becoming an outsider, wasn't I? The god appearing beside him started singing and dancing again. A certain god was very happy. Suddenly he froze when he saw the glowing bracelet on the monster's arm. He looked over at the basket of treasures he had collected. I tried my best not to loot too many treasures, really. Not too many, my foot. You call a basket this size not many. He picked up the bracelet to examine it. Because I'm sure they all belong to humans or fairies. But since I can't level up yet, the only option to get stronger is money. The beast's feet stepped closer to Kang Han-soo. He was startled. It wasn't just one, but a whole pack of monsters. They shrieked, kill, meat, human, meat, revenge. Kang Han-soo was caught off guard by them, but stood up calmly looking at them. Still some left, huh? The beast standing in front of him had already leveled up to 9. That's actually pretty scary. But Kang Han-soo was very relaxed. Sounds like an organized uprising, huh? Probably think your numerical advantage is enough. Still not enough, and it looks like you lot have eaten tons of meat. They kept shrieking and rushed to attack Kang Han-soo like they were starved for ages. Meat, meat, eat him, eat his heart. Kang Han-soo jumped up to dodge the monster's attack, and even said, thanks. He used his sword, burning with killing intent, preparing to jump down and counterattack. So happy that so many good teachers have come to meet me personally. The monsters were stunned, staring at him. What meat Kang Han-soo slashed once successfully, taking out a monster. He even turned back to tell them, thanks everyone, I've finally found a way to use my power effectively. The monsters instinctively backed away. Dangerous, too strong, have to run. Kang Han-soo, burning with intensity, said, no matter how much you prepare, it will never be enough to face me. Kang Han-soo prepared to unleash his massacre. The next morning, when the sun had risen, Kang Han-soo stood next to the pile of gold he had collected. I made a lot of gold coins, but the language barrier is still a problem. He thought if he couldn't sell the goods at a reasonable price, they were just a pile of rubble. I need a translator. Isn't there any smart monster that can turn into a human? Kang Han-soo sat next to the bag of gold, pondering, I could probably trust Glon, right? These guys are terrible at lying. Suddenly, someone with 2 horns appeared behind his back. Oh, it's a grade 1. It's Cosmos. He walks over and asks Kang Han-soo, where did the person who took care of those lowlifes go? Kang Han-soo turns around, excited, and stares at him. Cosmos is freaking out, asking, are you not understanding a word I'm saying? I'm speaking human, you know. Kang Han-soo walks up and grabs Cosmos. Got one. Cosmos panics and shouts, you jerk, what do you think you're doing? Kang Han-soo seems pretty impressed by him. He looks surprisingly smart and actually has a decent-looking face. Kang Han-soo asks excitedly, what's your name? I don't know what kind of freak you are, but I have a feeling we could be friends. Cosmos scowls, annoyed. I'm a demon, not a freak. Kang Han-soo is stunned. Wait, you're a demon? I always thought demons were these massive muscular monsters. Remember that guy who kidnapped the kids? He said the hero's goal was to take down the Demon Lord, to defeat the Demon Lord. He looks at the cosmos in front of him. If even the gods need to ask aliens for help, the Demon Lord must be incredibly powerful, but this guy... While he's lost in thought, Cosmos starts screaming, you lunatic! What kind of psychological game are you playing? From the moment you introduced yourself talking about being friends, the idea that all demons are powerful is just a prejudice, you idiot. Kang Han-soo looks dejected. My bad, sorry about that. He adds something even more hurtful. But you're actually kind of weak, aren't you? Cosmos looks like he's about to cry on the spot. Kang Han-soo panics and starts fumbling. Hey, don't cry. You're making me look like the bad guy here. Cosmos retorts angrily. You're barely stronger than a normal human. Who on earth are you? What kind of grade 1 is freakishly strong like that? Kang Hansu laughs and says, it's all thanks to blessings. Cosmos shouts back, that's a blatant lie. Do you think I'm stupid? How can you lie through your teeth when you clearly have more curses than blessings on you? Kang Hansu is completely shocked when he hears that. You can see them. Cosmos points to his blue eye and says, of course. I have a blessing that lets me see through everything. And I have another one even better than that. I can peek at other people's status windows. Kang Hansu's hand trembles uncontrollably. He says, I see. Cosmos asks, how much longer do you plan on grabbing my neck? Kang Hansu quickly says, don't get the wrong idea. This is just a sign of friendship. Cosmos snaps back. More like if I don't agree to be friends, you're going to choke the life out of me. Kang Hansu stares at him surprised. You're pretty sharp. Way different from those other lowlifes. Cosmos says, I'm a dark mage. If you were stupid, there's no way you could learn dark magic. I'm currently training outside my homeland to find someone to marry. Kang Hansu is even more surprised. Marriage? You're already at a marrying age. Cosmos smirks. Stop treating me like some inferior species. I was already at marrying age before you were even born. A goddess appears next to Kang Hansu, curious about some god or other. She urges him to ask more about his personal life. Kang Hansu grips Cosmos tighter. Hey, buddy, why haven't you gotten married yet? Cosmos, being manhandled like a toy, cries out, just kill me already. I don't want to be toyed with by a human like you. Kang Hansu chuckles. Not married and still a virgin. That's a bit of a waste, isn't it? Cosmos turns his face away, embarrassed. The stronger a demon is, the more spouses they have. I'm way too weak, so I ran away. I didn't want to become the 243rd husband of some old female demon. Kang Hansu sighs sympathetically. That's really pathetic. Cosmos gets even angrier. Stop acting like you pity me. Cosmos then asks Kang Hansu, but how are you even walking around? Kang Hansu doesn't quite get what he means. Huh, what do you mean? Cosmos says, I used a lot of paralytic poison, that much poison. It should have completely paralyzed even a fairy with high resistance. It turns out a purple bottle of poison had been spilled on the ground. Cosmos asks, confused, you're just a grade 1, so how could you possibly be immune to it? The god turns the medicine bottle in his hand, wondering, is this the paralysis potion? Kang Hansu grits his teeth and snaps, you son of a... Cosmos trembles in fear at his demeanor. Kang Hansu flashes a wicked, twisted grin. This reminds me of a memory that really gets my blood boiling. Kang Hansu grabs Cosmos by the collar and stares down the demon with a sinister smile. Cosmos, terrified and breaking into a cold sweat, hurriedly casts a dark spell. Aiming to bind Kang Hansu, a spell resembling a snake slithers around his feet, quickly climbs up his body, and wraps around him tightly. But Kang Hansu just flexes his muscles with immense force. With just a shake, he effortlessly shatters the demon Cosmos's magic bindings. Ah! His hand is still clamped tightly around Cosmos's collar, furious that the demon dared to try a sneak attack. Kang Hansu grips harder, his face twisted in rage, eyes bloodshot as he glares at Cosmos. Seeing Kang Hansu's fury, the demon panics, his face turning pale as he thinks to himself, what the hell are you doing? The demon Cosmos can't believe his eyes. Kang Hansu broke through his magic that quickly. He screams, you monster! How can you break free from my magical restraints that easily? Kang Hansu just stares at him for a long, silent moment. Making the demon Cosmos nervous, he stammers, what? Kang Hansu asks him seriously, what is your relationship with the village chief? Hearing this, the demon bursts into laughter, mocking him. Are you stupid? Do you know how many village chiefs I've met in my entire life? Huh. Seeing the demon act so flippant, Kang Hansu loses his temper, his voice dropping low. I'm talking about the village chief with the vomit head tattoo on his chest. Hearing Kang Hansu's description, Cosmos freezes for a few seconds to think and finally remembers. Oh, I remember now. I remember it. You mean that guy who was on the verge of death? He had such a pathetic fairy tale-like backstory that I decided to free him from the fairy realm's curse, didn't I? Before the demon could finish his sentence, Kang Hansu, enraged, lifts him clean off the ground. Cosmos turns pale with fear, too terrified to say another word. With an explosion of anger, Kang Hansu says, so it was you, the sorcerer, who helped that depraved village chief. It was you, wasn't it? Kang Hansu's face looks truly twisted and terrifying. He looks like he just crawled out of hell wearing a cold, gruesome smile. Meanwhile, in the forest, the group of students is gathering to hunt the monsters. Sentex steps forward, covering his face with a sad expression, saying, "Unfortunately, the other heroes have abandoned the training and returned to the temple. The remaining funds will now be used to invest in the remaining heroes." Two students in the class chat happily. The bald one says, "Awesome," and the other one cheers, "Ha ha." Ansus steps forward to praise the students. "Increasing by 3 levels in one day, that is truly unprecedented, just as I expected. You humans are truly amazing." Though he smiles with his mouth, he is silently calculating, the best part is still the hero's blessing. Just then a cavalryman rides up panicked and reports to Ansus. "My prince, I have a report. We have discovered a gnoll that has lost control. The knights currently summoned..." Before the cavalryman could finish, Sentex interrupts him and asks, "What level is that gnoll?" The cavalryman replies, "It's level 5, sir." Sentex rests his chin on his hand, thinking, and asks Ansus, "These 3 heroes are level 5 now, right?" Ansus replies seriously, "Yes, their growth rate is truly fast." Sentex makes his decision, "I think this will be a rare opportunity for them to gain some excellent experience." Afterward, they all head to the area where the gnoll has lost control. They hide behind bushes to observe the beast and signal for silence. Ansus whispers softly, "Don't be fooled by how stupid it looks. This type of gnoll is very special. It can fight someone much stronger than me, so please be careful." Princess Athena, hearing Ansus, says innocently and cheerfully, "An adult gnoll can even use dark magic too." After saying that, she looks excited, forgetting that they are all standing very close to the dangerous gnoll. She adds, "Everyone be careful when its eyes turn red." Just then, the gnoll hears Princess Athena's voice and snaps its head around in defense. Unfortunately, its eyes are already glowing a bright, angry red. Seeing this, everyone gasps in cold fear. They fall into a stunned silence at the sheer idiotic innocence of Princess Athena. Realizing they've been spotted, Princess Athena exclaims excitedly, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I got everyone spotted." Then she covers her mouth and giggles. The gnoll screams in anger and charges at the group hiding nearby. Seeing the tense situation, Princess Athena and Prince Ansus quickly retreat to the back to observe, pushing the students forward to face the ferocious beast. Ansus smiles and stands there with his arms crossed. "We'll stay here," while Athena stands next to him, cheering and waving her hands. Choi Gangmin glares at them as they all retreat to watch his teeth gritting in anger. The students see the massive gnoll charging at them, panicking and trembling. "Are we going to be okay?" Choi Gangmin immediately activated his captain's ability to calm his classmates down. "You guys don't need to be afraid of it," he thought to himself. "If only I had a little more time." Observing the massive size of the glon, he told his classmates, "Its large size is going to make it slower than the previous glons. First, let's dodge its attacks," and before Choi Gangmin could finish his sentence, the glon surged forward with The surrounding students, choked by the dust, cried out for Gangmin in panic. Before they could even brace themselves, the monster, the Non, lunged forward with glowing red, malevolent eyes. It bared its savage fangs and sent all the students flying into the air with a single swipe. Just as the beast was ruthlessly tossing the students around its head, suddenly burst into flames. Shrieking in pain as it burned, the monster roared. It was Ayubora who had set its head on fire, her own hands still steaming. After extinguishing the fire on its head, the monster let out a furious roar at Bora. Ayubora immediately summoned a sharp, blessed sword. Wielding her weapon with courage, Ayubora rushed forward and slashed directly at the monster. Despite the creature's immense power and iron-like skin, the strike landed. It didn't faze the monster at all. In fact, the beast grabbed her and kneed her hard in the stomach, causing her to vomit fresh blood. Terrified, Bora screamed, "Ah!" The monster seemed to grow even more feral. It grabbed her by the collar, lifted her up, and threw her aside like a rag doll. Ayubora went flying, slamming into Jang Mizeon. The impact was so brutal that both of them cried out in agony. Seeing the students scattered and broken, the monster grinned wickedly. Jang Mizeon held Ayubora tight, screaming, "Bora, wake up, Bora!" She shook her, trembling with fear, and whispered, What should I do now?" As she saw the monster closing in, Jang Mizeon screamed in terror, "Somebody, anyone please help me! Please save me!" The cruel monster stood right in front of Jang Mizeon, making her shiver uncontrollably. She started to sob, tears streaming down her face, and prayed with hands clasped tight. "Anyone, please just help me." At that moment, her charm blessing automatically activated. Her body began to radiate a seductive scent, drastically increasing her ability to attract and charm members of the opposite sex. High above, the gods were watching the situation unfold. The innocent goddess was squealing with excitement over the scent of someone. Beside her, the wicked god watched in silence. Even the monster Non was entranced by the charm. It stepped forward, gently sniffing the fragrance wafting from her, touched her hair, and muttered something. The monster's face was dazed, as if it had been struck by love at first sight. While it was distracted, a blade sliced clean through its head, and the beast died in an instant. With teary eyes, Jang Mizeon looked up at the hero who had saved her. Prince Ansu stood there, asking kindly, "Hero Mizeon, are you all right?" The innocent goddess breathed a sigh of relief. Jang Mizeon was still deep in shock, curled up and shivering. The gods continued to watch the story unfold. The wicked god, however, seemed a bit disappointed. The water god used cold water to wash their faces. Prince Ansus turned to look around and prayed, "May the blessings of the gods shine upon you, the heroes who have fought so bravely against the enemy." Meanwhile, in the forest, Kang Han-su and the demon Kopmost were clashing. The demon screamed helplessly, "Ugh!" as Kang Han-su tossed him aside. He crawled back up with difficulty, complaining, "You're more savage than a demon. How dare you throw me around like a piece of wood?" Kang Han-su, with a cold expression like Yama, snapped, "Hey, buddy." The demon, still muttering curses, saw Kang Han-su standing behind him and broke into a cold sweat. His face turned pale, but he still forced himself to say, I can't do that." Kang Han-su smiled, but his voice was chillingly devoid of emotion. "Ha ha, do you want to die?" Suddenly, Kopmost yelled, "Wait!" He immediately used magic to heal the wounds on his body. The magic acted like a flowing stream, wiping away the bloodstains still clinging to his face. It restored him to a healthy, pristine state. Kang Han-su sighed, annoyed. What a pain. He thought to himself, "Is this an ability similar to the Outsiders?" Kang Han-su grumbled, "Thanks for the mercy, Mr. Village Chief. I almost died for nothing back there." Kang Han-su asked him, "Do you want to keep getting beaten, or are you going to help me?" The demon Kopmost nervously calculated his options and said, "That's a tall order. There's a terrifying saint in the next city over. I can't die before I get married." Seeing him refuse, Kang Han-su said helplessly, "Going on and on about getting married." Suddenly, the demon Kopmost said cheerfully, "Okay, how about the second closest city? I'll volunteer to lead you there." Kang Han-su was secretly relieved and said, "All right, it's a deal." He thought to himself that he didn't want to go to a city with the goddess's lackeys anyway. Just as they were about to head out, Kopmost remembered something. "Right, I almost forgot." Kang Han-su, walking behind him, asked, "What is it?" The demon turned back and said, "Because soldiers have been banned from entering the forest for 2 days, we have to take a detour." He looked back at Kang Han-su and added, "We just need to verify your identity. But a demon like me is dangerous." Kang Han-su, carrying a sack of gold on his shoulder, replied nonchalantly, "Well, if that's the case, then I guess it can't be helped." Deep down, he was silently cursing. "I'm going to have a hard time because of the language barrier, damn it!" The goddess saw Kang Han-su's internal rage and started rolling on the floor, laughing. A certain god was having such a blast that it made him even angrier. Meanwhile, in another forest, Ohangu and Arya were heading deep into the woods to find Glone. Arya kept complaining, muttering as they walked. "You are the most useless person I have ever met. Did you learn about the world from a children's book? You don't even know what a bathroom is." Ohangu's face darkened as he thought, "Bathrooms are never mentioned in novels or comics." That's what I wanted to say. He wanted to argue back, but Ohangu was a coward and thought, "But she's been paying for the inn. My armor and my weapons for the last 2 days." Being in a subordinate position, he only dared to be angry internally. As they were walking, Arya suddenly turned around and snapped, "Hey, you!" Ohangu asked, "What is it?" Arya tried to control her anger and said, "I've been very annoyed because you keep staring at me from behind." Ohangu casually explained, "It's just a misunderstanding. I just like walking behind people." Ohangu secretly smirked, thinking a beautiful girl like this, helping and looking out for someone. This must be the effect of my blessing. The MC's pulse raced as he remembered his special blessing and smiled to himself. Arya, losing her patience, pointed straight at his face and said, "Hey, are you even listening to me? Besides, you have no idea how surprised I was by the way you attacked that slime. Are you seriously unaware of the obvious?" Ohangu stuttered in fear when he saw Arya acting so fierce. Arya warned him that since they were entering goblin territory, he should start by doing some grunt work around the village. Ohangu quickly refused, saying, "I don't want to do that." Arya, at her wit's end, replied, "Then you have no choice. Normal goblins are way more dangerous than slimes. You need to be careful if you want to make it out of the forest alive." Ohangu replied casually, "Got it." Arya sighed helplessly and asked, "Are you sure you actually understand? Ohangu kept his nonchalant expression and grinned mischievously. I understand perfectly well. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, scattering a few leaves. A god of fate waved his hand, beckoning a friend, and a wind god asked if something big was going on. Noticing a few gods watching him, Ohangu smirked triumphantly. The number of gods was rising noticeably, while others were just growing like greenhouse plants. I'm going to charge into the battlefield and claim the gods' blessings. Seeing Ohangu's devious smile, Arya couldn't even be bothered to speak. Why can't you stop grinning like a creep? Stay on guard. Let's go. Ohangu thought to himself, this is goblin territory. It's tough for slime-rank mercenaries, huh? This was the lowest rank for rookie mercenaries, but he immediately opened his stat window, Name Ohangu. Level 1, Hero's Blessing F. Special F, Mercenary Rank F, Dividend 1.95. After looking at it, he confidently thought, I've got a new blessing now. I have the Mercenary XP bonus effect. You get extra experience points for completing a request. If you fail or abandon a request, you lose a significant amount of XP. It's risky, but that's nothing for a protagonist like me. The two ventured deeper and deeper into the forest. Ohangu asked, Arya, are you sure this is the right place? He kept looking around while walking, but he couldn't see a single goblin in sight. I don't see any goblins at all. Arya was also shocked and suspicious. That's strange. How come there aren't any? Could something have happened to this forest? Meanwhile, Ohangu was still lost. Us, in his own protagonist fantasies. He smiled and said, There's always something to do around the main character. Arya, hearing his nonsense and not understanding a word, asked, What are you talking about? Ohangu replied smugly, Heh heh, it's nothing. Arya checked the list and frowned. This is bad. This is only 5 goblin ears. I thought we could be done early. While Arya was still worrying, Ohangu walked with his hands in his pockets, 10 parts confident. Just keep heading deeper into the forest. Arya felt they had gone way too far. Furthermore, she had a gut feeling that something unfortunate was about to happen, so she wanted to head back immediately. It's not going to be that easy. Let's go back to the guild first and see if there's any new information. Ohangu turned back and said with a confident smile, It's fine, just trust me. Heh 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 heh. Seeing him so confident only made Arya more anxious. She asked, What are you basing that confidence on? Before she could even finish her sentence, Arya screamed in terror, Ha! Ha! At that moment, an axe was swinging straight toward Ohangu's head. He only had enough time to look up in a panic and gasp, What? Before barely dodging the goblin's strike. The powerful, heavy swing slammed into the ground. Having just escaped death, Ohangu collapsed, clutching his head and trembling, wailing, Ugh! Ah! Arya frantically drew her sword and lunged forward. She shouted, Ohangu, focus! Then, using all her strength, she leaped high into the air and stabbed her sword straight into the top of the goblin's head. The goblin bared its teeth and struggled, its eyes bloodshot. Surprisingly, that slash, I didn't cause a single bit of damage to this goblin. Arya thought anxiously. It has iron armor too, this is bad. She quickly dashed to Ohangu, asking worriedly, Ohangu, can you stand up? In front of them stood an incredibly huge goblin with bloodshot glowing eyes, growling madly. Grr! Arya quickly said, Draw your sword, hurry! This goblin is really strong. Ohangu snapped out of his near-death experience, stuttering, What? Oh, okay. Ohangu drew his sword, but as he faced the goblin directly, he panicked. His hand holding the sword was shaking and his face had turned pale. The confidence from before was gone. A goblin? It's way scarier than I thought. Just then, it wasn't just the two of them facing the giant goblin. They were being surrounded. Several other goblins standing nearby were charging in with swords. Seeing the situation go south, Arya cursed, Damn it! She turned her back to him to protect him. Listen closely, Ohangu. I'll draw their attention and clear a path for you to escape. Seeing Arya trying to clear a path for him to run, Ohangu still stubbornly held his sword and said, You want me to leave the experience points behind and run away? Ah, Arya said seriously. This isn't the time to be joking. Suddenly, Ohangu was struck hard in the face by a rock. Thwack. He felt his whole world spinning. A stream of blood began to trickle down. I can't... what the heck just smacked me in the face? His vision began to fade into darkness. The last image he saw before passing out was Arya calling his name anxiously, Ohangu, Ohangu. Ohangu was still lost in his thoughts about being the main character. The gods watching him started chattering away. The god of war was laughing his head off, and some other god was laughing so hard his jaw dropped. Now, after some time it had passed, Ohangu suddenly woke up and began to recall the situation right before he blacked out. Wait, so all that pathetic screaming and losing it, where did those monsters go? Arya, covered in wounds, smiled and said, "You're awake, aren't you? I've already taken care of everything." Ohangu let out a sigh of relief. "Oh, thank goodness." His gaze quickly darted over, and he spotted one of Arya's arms which had been severed. As she sat there bandaging her wound, he was stunned. Huh. Then panicking, he pointed at her arm and asked, "Your arm? Why is it because of me?" Ohangu felt crushed by a wave of guilt and misery. He was practically falling apart, but Arya tried to reassure him. "It's my fault, you don't need to blame yourself." Ohangu was shaken to his core. Oh my God, what a protagonist. Who cares about that? What right do I even have? Ohangu suddenly remembered something and hurriedly pulled up his status window. Wait, there has to be a way to deal with this. Maybe with my blessing. He frantically searched the data board. Arya hurriedly stopped him. "Hey, calm down!" Ohangu, agitated, snapped. "How am I supposed to stay calm?" Arya smiled self-deprecatingly. "It was my fault after all. So don't blame yourself anymore." Ohangu realized that because of the special blessing, Arya was taking all the blame for this incident onto herself without scolding him at all. That feeling of self-reproach grew even heavier than before. He gave a bitter, mocking laugh and thought to himself, the effect of the grand blessing is basically like letting me off the hook. Standing nearby, Arya watched as Ohangu talked to himself and laughed, looking puzzled, not understanding what was happening. The gods were still watching. The wind god had literally fallen off his cloud while laughing. Seeing the gods mocking him, Ohangu snapped and turned to lash out at them. "Stop laughing, is this supposed to be funny?" The gods began to get angry at Ohangu's unreasonable outburst. The wind god felt annoyed by his friend's baseless rage and decided he would give him a proper scolding. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck Ohangu, making him jump out of his skin with his eyes rolled back. Ohangu had been cursed for his disrespect toward the gods. The curse, peerless sight. You cannot see through anything even if there is no physical barrier. The probability of your weaknesses being exposed increases significantly, or your secrets will be revealed. Ohangu saw the notification pop up. He stared at the curse's description, reading it over, but still didn't get it. What is this? It's the same curse that Zhang Mizian received. Right. I cannot see through anything even if there is no barrier. What does that even mean? Arya was still standing there looking confused as she watched him talk to himself, answer his own questions, and act like a lunatic. Arya asked, "Are you okay?" Ohangu turned to her and said, well, no. But as he turned to look at her, seeing Arya, Ohangu was horrified. Countless black bars covered her body, almost 80% of her. All he could see were a few small, blurry images. Arya asked worriedly, "You've been muttering to yourself for a while now. Did you get a headache after fainting?" Ohangu was in deep shock at this bizarre curse. He yelled in frustration, "Huh? Don't tell me!" Ohangu writhed on the ground, thrashing about and screaming loudly, "Damn it! What kind of curse is this?" "My dream of traveling with a beautiful girl is ruined," Arya, scared, called out to him. Suddenly, the wind in the forest grew stronger, and the leaves rustled as they were swept up. Leaves were flying everywhere. Arya felt a bad premonition and hurriedly urged Ohangu to leave quickly. "The forest feels strange. Let's go back to the city. It'll be dangerous if we run into those monsters again." The feeling of unease within Arya kept growing. Ohangu thought to himself, the city. He gripped the grass and said with determination, "All right, let's go." He thought that if they got to the city, they might be able to treat Arya's arm. That's right, the Saintess is in the city. If the Saintess is truly in this fantasy world, then she would be able to heal the wounds on her arm. Ohangu declared, "I promise I'll take responsibility for your arm and get it back to normal. I'm a legendary hero after all." Meanwhile, over in the forest, Kang Hansu was carrying a bag of gold, following the instructions of the demon Cosmos along the way. Kang Hansu asked, "Tell me again, what's your name?" Cosmos, with a look of disgust, said, "I've been with you this whole time, and that's the only thing you're asking about. It's Cosmos." When Kang Hansu heard that he said, "Cosmos, is that your family name? That sounds so plain." Cosmos snapped back, "It's not a family name, and it doesn't sound plain at all." As he walked, he explained, "I am the 23rd child born to the 348th wife of the 14th Demon King." Kang Hansu was surprised. "Oh," Cosmos continued, "humans value royalty. But among us demons royalty and nobility are quite common, and since they also hold power, we don't really care about it. Kang Hansu laughed innocently and said, "In other words, you're telling me you're a demon with no good background, right?" Hearing Kang Hansu say that, Cosmos slumped down, feeling heartbroken on the verge of tears. Kang Hansu hurriedly comforted him. Sorry, don't cry. How about a nickname? Cosmos, Cosmos said sadly. Mos. That's the name I was called by an old friend who is now the 425th wife of the 7th Demon King. As if remembering unhappy memories, he said sadly, I couldn't even congratulate her after she had her first child. Kang Hansu started to get tired of Cosmos constantly rambling about his friend. But then Kang Hansu thought to himself, I feel sorry for hearing the story of a demon who hates marriage so much, but at least he's not as miserable as I am. As Nye talked about his friend, Kang Hansu couldn't help but think to himself, I feel bad hearing the story of a demon who hates marriage so much, but at least he isn't as miserable as I am. The one abducted from this world, the god following them was getting bored. The god yawned so hard tears welled up. The god was struggling with the boredom and wanting you out of the forest faster, Kang Hansu thought to himself. He seems pretty annoyed that I'm with a fairy, or whoever else. But why the attitude shift now that I'm traveling with a demon? While the two were walking, the demon Cosmos suddenly spotted something quite interesting on the ground, a giant footprint. Cosmos pointed at the footprint on the ground and said, We've arrived. Kang Hansu immediately asked, Where? Cosmos followed the footprints on the ground, deduced the path, and said, Just a little further and we'll be out of the forest. Kang Hansu said, Finally some good news. Cosmos warned him, Don't let your guard down. Once we leave this forest, we'll be stepping into the Master's territory. The Kingdom of Nights, Kang Hansu asked suspiciously. At that moment, the two stepped out of the forest. Before them lay a vast land under a starry sky. Cosmos told him, That's right, and it's also the border of the orcs. Kang Hansu said, Orcs, you say? Kang Hansu's eyes glowed, and he swept his gaze across the vast area around them, searching. I'm checking to see if there's anyone kind among them. Cosmos listened silently to the movements around them and said, Compared to the goblins you fought last time, these orcs are in a different league. Looking down from above, Cosmos warned, Hey, I see a fly down there. Kang Hansu looked around frantically and asked, Where is it? Suddenly, an orc below seemed to detect something. It sniffed the air silently. Kang Hansu looked in the direction Cosmos pointed and saw a group of orcs. They had large, muscular bodies and faces that looked quite a bit like wild boars. If you looked closely, you could see they were equipped with armor and weapons, and they were even leading a few horses. Kang Hansu asked in surprise, Hey, what did you say just now? They look just like regular orcs to me. Do regular orcs know how to raise livestock? One orc suddenly spoke up, What's this? Why do I smell a human nearby? Another confirmed, You're right. And they're all men too. A few orcs standing around started drooling greedily. Well, it won't be as tasty as a woman, but oh well. That should be enough to fill my stomach at least. The whole pack of orcs gathered to hunt their prey. One shouted, They're right over there! Cosmos was startled and panicked, saying, Damn it, this is all your fault! Kang Hansu asked blankly. What? Cosmos said angrily. Your eyes are glowing just like those goblins. Don't you realize how much you stand out in the middle of the night? Only then did Kang Hansu notice. He quickly said, I almost forgot, I'm just used to it. Seeing Kang Hansu say that, Cosmos was speechless. Forgot? Kang Hansu reverted to his normal eyes and asked cheerfully, It should be like this, right? Cosmos was furious and scolded him, You bastard! Why didn't you do that sooner even though you knew we were hiding, huh? Kang Hansu covered his mouth and laughed happily, Because it looked cool. Heh. Seeing Kang Hansu still laughing, Cosmos went crazy and shouted, Are you stupid? Before he could finish, the group of orcs had already approached. Hearing the sound of many footsteps, Kang Hansu suddenly switched back to his red eyes, dropping his playful demeanor. He said to him, My night vision is better this way, 1, 2, 3, about 10 of them. Aren't they walking a bit too leisurely? Kang Hansu was quite confident about taking them all down, but Cosmos was rather worried. It's all on you too. Orcs are often involved in trading and theft, so they recognize valuable things. Look at yourself, what's the difference? Don't you look like a third-rate mercenary exhausted after a battle? You also smell like money, so they're definitely coming for you. Right at Kang Hansu's feet was a bag of gold glittering brightly, attracting the orc's attention. Kang Hansu was quite excited and jumped off the cliff, eager for a fight. All right, let me go down and talk to them. Cosmos hurriedly called out, Hey, wait, but it was too late. At this moment, Kang Hansu was already standing in front of the orcs. Cosmos sighed on the cliff, resigned. Fine, do whatever you want. Kang Han-soo put on a provoking face and said to them, "Hey, orcs!" Suddenly, the whole group of orcs started shouting at once. "You skinny pig! Hey, you weak little pig, hand over everything of value on you, quick!" They were all clamoring at once, making Kang Han-soo not know who to answer. Finally, one who seemed to be the leader asked him, "Hey, skinny pig, do you not understand orc speak?" Kang Han-soo said helplessly, "Who are you calling a pig, huh? I am a human, get it." The leader of the orcs seems to have a few screws loose. The idiot actually said a pig was speaking in the orcish language, and another one argued back that a skinny pig could speak orcish. Kang Han-soo, that smart skinny pig, just stood there clutching his face in total disbelief at this bunch of moronic pig-headed fools. They kept bickering and squawking at each other, one of them yelling, "Hey, pig, hand over everything you've got. Otherwise you're gonna die. And after you hand everything over, we're gonna kill you anyway." Kang Han-soo sighed to himself, thinking their vocabulary had improved compared to the goblins, but not by much. Not enough to have a decent conversation, that's for sure. Guess I don't have much of a choice here, Kang Han-soo muttered, reaching for his sword ready to beat these pigheads to a pulp. He thought to himself, are these orcs really that much stronger than the goblins? They looked decent at fighting in groups and surrounding their enemies, but Kang Han-soo drew his blade with a sharp strike cutting through their meaningless chatter. "Hey, you green pigs, I suggest you hand over everything you've got right now." They turned back in a rage, shouting, "We are orcs, not pigs." Kang Han-soo didn't let that orc monster finish. He lunged forward and slammed his fist straight into the leader's mouth. The orc flew backward, shrieking in pain, "Ah!" while spitting out a mouthful of blood. Kang Han-soo just kept pressing the attack, thinking, can I actually take them all? No need to overthink it. I've got the outsider's blessing, so let's hope this works. Seeing one of their own taken down with a single punch, the rest of the pack stood there gaping in stunned silence. Kang Han-soo got more fired up with every hit. He charged into the orc's landing punches with a crazed, bloodthirsty look in his eyes. I'm the only one here who gets to make the calls, got it. He was determined to smash those pig heads in and see who the real fat pig was after all. With one hand punching and the other throwing his blade, flew through the air and embedded itself right in the forehead of an orc, sending blood spraying everywhere. The orc's eyes rolled back dead before it even knew what hit it. It went down without even a sound. The remaining orcs, seeing Kang Han-soo fighting like a demon, were too terrified to move. One of them went pale, sweat pouring down its face. It turned to its comrade and asked, "What is up with that pig?" The other was just as scared but tried to act tough, snapping back, "Go capture him. Then quit standing there asking questions." They all had swords, but not one dared to step up, already passing the buck before they'd even swung a blade. "You go do it, you looking for a fight." Kang Han-soo coldly sat down, yanked his blade out of the dead orc's head, and spotted the two idiots arguing over who should attack. He turned his gaze toward them, and casually took care of both those brainless orcs. No need to argue anymore, now you can both hold hands and go to the afterlife together. Kang Han-soo silently pulled out his dagger and said to Cosmos, "I thought orcs were supposed to be stronger than goblins." Cosmos walked up calmly and said, "They are stronger than goblins, it's just you. You're the freak." Kang Han-soo held his blood-stained sword, looking at the orcs with contempt. "Stronger, my foot." Under the vast, endless night sky, the scene was decorated with flickering stars. They sparkled, making the night look ethereal and magical, which stood in stark contrast to the battlefield below, where the bodies of 10 orcs lay scattered across the ground. Kang Han-soo quietly took a cloth to wipe the blood off his blade. He glanced around for a moment, impressed. "I took them all out. That was easier than I thought. And hey, if you were planning on following me, you should have stepped back, right?" Kang Han-soo was talking to Cosmos, but when he turned around and got no answer, he noticed something. He suddenly spotted him in a small corner. Behind a boulder, Cosmos was being scorched by a massive flame, his legs writhing in agony as he groaned, "Ugh! Ugh!" Kang Han-soo asked, "What are you doing?" And after assessing the situation, he panicked. "What's going on? What is this that looks dangerous?" Kang Han-soo stood there frantic, not knowing how to help. Cosmos gritted his teeth, sweat dripping from his face in pain, and gasped, "Look! Look up at the sky!" A massive gust of wind blew across the sky. Kang Han-soo looked up curious to see a snow-white dragon with 2 massive wings. Soaring through the air, it had 4 legs like an eagle with razor-sharp talons. Kang Han-soo marveled, "Whoa, it's huge. Is that a lizard or a dragon?" Kang Han-soo was so mesmerized by the creature, which wasn't quite a dragon, that he couldn't take his eyes off it. He mindlessly muttered, "Where's it going?" while Cosmos continued to struggle with the fire burning his legs. He painfully groaned, There's a goddess riding on that dragon." Kang Hansu turned back, stunned. A goddess. Cosmos labored to speak. That's right. That's the ultimate weapon of humanity. To track me from that distance and strike with such precision. Kang Hansu finally realized the fire on Cosmos's legs was caused by that dragon. Cosmos lamented, the Elven Kingdom is in that direction. It must be something huge for a goddess to be sent out personally like this. I survived death only to run into one of the only two goddesses. Talk about bad luck. Cosmos almost forgot his burning legs as he speculated, why would she be heading to the Elven Kingdom? Was it kind-hearted Kang Hansu who warned him, hey, your lower half is almost burned to a crisp? Cosmos ignored the goddess's concern and focused on putting out the fire, saying, these injuries are nothing to us demons. But wounds from a goddess take a bit of time to heal. So Cosmos looked at Kang Hansu with a pleading gaze and said, give me a piggyback ride. Kang Hansu refused point blank without even thinking, but after a while he finally gave in. I still have to carry Cosmos, huh? As he walked, he thought to himself, I was suddenly kidnapped to this hellish world and nearly died countless times. I've never even given my own parents a piggyback ride, and I can't believe I'm carrying a demon right now. How pathetic. The god watching Kang Hansu danced happily and offered him a suggestion. The god said, leave him behind as food for the ogres. Kang Hansu's face twisted in disgust at the suggestion. Cosmos, being carried on his back, gritted his teeth in humiliation, thinking the same thing. If word gets out that I was helped by a lowly human, I'll never have a chance at marriage. Hearing that, Kang Hansu gave a sinister smile. Once we get out of here, I'll make sure to spread that rumor. Seeing his malicious thoughts, Cosmos asked angrily, are you even human? You dare threaten a demon? Kang Hansu's gaze became firm as he replied, I'm definitely not a normal human. I'm about to become a hero. Cosmos was shocked and asked, what, you're about to become a hero? Kang Hansu turned back and asked, haven't you seen my status window? Cosmos was endlessly surprised. I'm shocked because I saw that person's window. The hero's curse is bestowed upon a demon when you are defeated by a hero and flee. You are given the hero's curse, and because of it, leveling up becomes harder, and revenge is nearly impossible. A demon burdened with the hero's curse is no different from a zombie. Kang Hansu said worriedly, doesn't that mean you can't do anything wherever you go, just you wait? It's truly strange for a fantasy world, Cosmos wondered. I'm wondering how a lowly human like you could have such power with only the outsider's blessing. Or perhaps there's some magic I don't know about from the outsider's blessing. Cosmos excitedly grabbed Kang Hansu, shaking him until his hands trembled. Kang Hansu warned him. Hey, you're going to fall, Cosmos thought and said, I've gathered a lot of information while traveling the world, but I've never heard of the outsider's blessing. I've thought about similar curses. But Cosmos hurriedly opened Kang Hansu's status window to check. Name Kang Hansu Level 1. Outsider's Blessing. F. Fairy C. Hero's Curse. E. Slaughter. E. Dividend. 5.66. Kang Hansu thought to himself, it's like you know the exact meaning of outsider. But it feels terrible having someone scrutinize my status window. Outsider. An outsider will have all their stats reset unless they die. Something terrifying will happen when the lone wolf leaves the forest. Kang Hansu read the status board again and thought, reset all stats. Doesn't that mean going back to the beginning? Or did I misunderstand something? Cosmos also offered an opinion. Perhaps that's why you don't eat or excrete anything. Fatal wounds disappear completely and you don't even get tired. Looks like this blessing is more like a scam. Kang Hansu agreed with Cosmos. You're right. I don't know what an outsider is, but that term sounds more like a curse than a blessing. Kang Hansu knew that even if he killed hordes of gnomes or ogres, it was useless. Even if you earned hundreds of experience points, all your stats would be reset right after. You will never be able to level up. Cosmos on his back asked, then how did you become so strong? Kang Hansu told Cosmos the story. As for that, you're right. They continued on in silence. A god was still quietly watching them. The god suddenly sighed helplessly. A god sighing, a god quietly remembering the past. Kang Hansu was suspicious an outer god. At this moment inside the sanctuary, the students, having been treated for their injuries by the saintess, were now resting. A young boy kicked the wall angrily. Damn it, you keep losing over and over. Do you even dare call yourself a legendary hero? After losing so miserably, Choi Kangmin turned back and said angrily, You're not the only one who lost, so calm down. The boy, seeing Choi Kangmin scolding him, explained, Allah stepped forward and clapped to boost everyone's morale. All right, don't lose heart. A gnome is stronger than usual. As you level up, you'll be able to defeat it. Everyone replied dejectedly, all right. Alice thought to himself, their average leveling speed is 4 levels. Everything has been developing well up until now, but the problem now is, there are no more gnomes for the heroes to hunt. At that moment, a soldier ran in and reported, Prince, I couldn't find any signs of the mercenaries who wiped out the gnome population. Alice asked his subordinate. No longer needing to hunt for heroes, a soldier suddenly rushed in and reported, Your Highness, I couldn't find any trace of the mercenaries who were wiped out. Glanaces turned to his subordinate and asked, What happened? What have you investigated so far? The soldier reported it was a massive swarm of monsters. He thought they had been wiped out by a notorious mercenary, but he handed Ansus a report. Experts suggested otherwise. Ansus asked skeptically, The knights? The soldier continued, Yes, they say the sword marks on all the monster corpses are identical. After looking at the report, Ansus exclaimed, That is very strange. He thought to himself, the forest entrance was restricted so the heroes could hunt freely. And yet a mysterious force wiped out the entire swarm in just one day. And the possibility that this was done by a single person. Ansus smiled at his own thought, dismissing it as absurd. He ordered his general prepare to receive orders. The general replied, Yes. He continued, It's still a bit early, but prepare for the heroes' hunting expedition. The soldier asked for instructions. What about the investigation, sir? Ansus replied casually, Leave it to the Information Guild. There have been some changes to the plan, so we can't keep worrying about that forever. The general retreated to make preparations, saying, I understand. Ansus murmured, Well then, I shall accompany the heroes. A loud noise rang out as the door swung open. Ohangu burst in, panting heavily. Ansus was stunned to see him. Oh, hero Ohangu. On his back was Arya. He had carried her all the way from the forest to the city. Moving as fast as he could to get her hand treated, he addressed Ansus, and then shouted, Where is the saintess? Choi Kang-min was also surprised to see him. He hurried over Ohangu. The students began whispering among themselves, I thought he went out to train on his own. Ignoring the crowd, Ohangu shouted frantically, I heard the saintess had returned to the temple! Where is she? Ansus, seeing Ohangu's disrespectful attitude, said angrily, Hero Ohangu, please mind your manners. Ohangu said awkwardly, My apologies, Prince Ansus. But because of me, it's the fate of a girl who is in grave danger. Princess Athena saw Arya being carried on his back and gasped in concern. Oh my, is that her? Arya calmly stepped down, looked at Athena, and said softly, Right now, I am simply a mercenary. Furthermore, I intend to retire and return to my manor. Athena asked worriedly, Your manor? Just as she was speaking, Princess Athena? He spotted Arya's severed hand and screamed in shock. Arya shyly hid her injured hand behind her back, saying awkwardly, It's just, things happen this way. Ohangu pleaded urgently, Princess, please help me call. Before he could finish his sentence, the saintess appeared with a guard, saying irritably, What is all this noise, seeing her emerge? Ohangu cheered, Saintess. She asked coldly, Is there a problem? Prince Ansus reported, Hero Ohangu has returned, Your Holiness. Seeing the saintess, Ohangu rushed forward to beg, but the guards blocked him. I have something I need to ask of you. The guard said coldly, Please stop. Ohangu humbled himself, pleading, Please listen to me. The saintess glanced at him, looking slightly surprised. This is quite unexpected. You are still at level 1, and you've been cursed too. She opened Ohangu's status window to check. Name Ohangu, level 1 blessing. Hero F, special F. Mercenary F, curse site F. Success rate 2.55%. Ohangu said, But I have found an excellent companion. The saintess glanced at Arya and opened her status window to examine it. Name, Arya, level 12, blessing nobility, B charisma, E warrior, D mercenary, C curse student, E. The saintess thought a B-rank nobility blessing if she weren't a marchioness. She must at least be the daughter of a duke. The saintess rested her chin on her hand, thinking, I don't think that's enough to be called excellent. Ohangu tried to find reasons to persuade her. Saintess, please treat Arya. She protected me with her life. She must be at a high level. Ohangu thought, just as I suspected, she comes from a noble family. Ohangu was secretly happy, thinking that Arya's noble status would make the saintess reconsider and provide treatment. But he didn't expect the saintess to be cold. She refused flatly. Hero Ohangu, please consult the guild master. She pointed toward the guild master. They walked over and she said to him, "Don't you see that both the priests and the knights, who always sacrifice themselves for the people, are at least level 30 or higher? How excellent is she that she can be compared to them?" Hearing that blunt rejection, Ohangu felt crushed. Trembling, he reluctantly tried to come up with another reasonable excuse. She is a warm-hearted noble." "She is," the saintess said firmly. "That answer is still not enough. I will ask again what makes her excellent." Ohangu gritted his teeth and said with difficulty, Ohangu gathered his courage and shouted, "It's her potential!" The saintess replied, "I see. I'm sure she will become a graceful lady within the next few years." Ohangu explained, "No, I meant her talent." The saintess didn't agree. "Talent, huh? If you're talking about talent, the friends around you are all full of talent. While you were wandering out there for 5 days at level 1, your friends have already reached level 6. Their talent even exceeded our expectations." Ohangu turned around, surprised, looking at his classmates, and stammered, unable to speak. Suddenly he panicked, because his classmates looked like a bunch of demons. They laughed wickedly and mocked him cruelly. "You're only good at bragging out there. And you're still stuck at level 1, aren't you?" The saintess was losing patience with him. She asked, "Do you have anything else to say?" Ohangu punched the ground in frustration, thinking, how humiliating. But Ohangu had no other choice. He decided to use his special ability, adding it to his words along with his hero's blessing. "Arya is a precious companion of mine. Please heal her hand. This is my plea." The saintess said powerfully, "I refuse." His special ability was instantly crushed by the saintess. It had absolutely no effect on her. Ohangu, seeing his power fail completely, froze in place, shocked, stunned, and floored. The saintess warned Ohangu, "Before you make a plea, prove that you are worthy first. Why do I have to pay off a debt that you created yourself?" Hero Ohangu, feeling helpless, sank to his knees. He couldn't say a word, just stammering in place. Seeing him kneeling and begging, the saintess gently sat down at his level and softly explained, "Hero, it seems you are underestimating. The miracle of the saintess aren't you," Ohangu hurriedly replied. "It's not like that." The saintess turned to the scholar standing nearby and said, "Then let me show you what I received from the miracle I just performed." The scholar hurriedly pulled out a list and spoke, "We have received it to the saintess who cured the senator's brain condition. We are honored. To express our deepest gratitude with these, 15 sword spirits containing the soul of the forest, 200 moon palace gems, 600 tamed unicorns, 15 phoenix feathers, along with 40 other accompanying items." Everyone standing around, hearing the list of offerings, all stared with wide eyes and open mouths in astonishment, looking at one another. "Wow." The saintess gently said to Ohangu, "Do you see it clearly now? This is what we call proof of a person's value. Can you do something like this?" Ohangu strongly insisted, Think of it as an investment. I will become strong quickly and—" Before Ohangu could finish his sentence, the saintess cut him off. "Well, talk to me when you've actually become stronger." Ohangu, feeling helpless, let out a sigh. At this moment, in his ears were the voices of his fellow students criticizing and mocking him. "He's really impatient," one said, then they walked away. "I knew it. He acts as if he's so noble and great." The fellow students standing around Ohangu laughed and ridiculed him. Every person had a taunt, making Ohangu unable to even lift his head. "Going with a companion again? How pathetic, guys! What is he even thinking? Uboza really can't stand him." Ohangu, receiving countless criticisms, shouted, "No!" At this moment, the gods watching were all gossiping. One god said, "Lying is bad." A demon king was disappointed by the hero's lack of confidence. Uboza suddenly raised his hand, wanting to say something. "Excuse me, saintess. Forgive me for asking, but can I take that mercenary as my companion?" The saintess, seeing Uboza wanting a companion, pondered for a moment. Even if she looks like she's been left behind compared to the other heroes, her talent would be wasted if she were alone. I've been looking for a way to unlock that potential. The saintess immediately accepted Uboza's proposal. If a brilliant warrior like Hero Uboza wishes for it, please go ahead. The saintess decided, I guess she will be useful as a companion. The saintess stepped in front of Arya and politely said, Miss Arya, please hold out your hand. Arya was very surprised and happily said, What yes? The saintess used her power to heal Arya's missing hands. The saintess said, From now on, you will be the sword and the shield for Hero Uboza. Engrave this in your mind until you die. The saintess secretly thought, it would be much better if she doesn't become a burden to the hero. At this moment, thanks to the saintess's healing power, her hands grew back completely. Arya looked at her hands in amazement, choking back tears. The saintess asked, "What are you doing?" Because she was immersed in the joy of having her hands healed, she immediately wiped her tears and said, "Pardon me." The saintess smiled and instructed, "Now go and follow Hero Yuboza immediately." Arya immediately stepped toward Yuboza, politely greeted him, and was ready to become his companion. After settling everything, the saintess sighed and said, "Prince Ansus, I have wasted too much time on these worthless things. Now, let's proceed with our schedule quickly." Ansus hurriedly went to prepare. "Yes, saintess." At this moment, Ohangu was still sitting quietly in a corner, broken. The group of students preparing to go on a mission passed by him and laughed mockingly. "Ha ha, hey Ohangu, good luck. Let's go, what are we going to do now?" Ansus also noticed his breakdown. At this moment, Ohangu was filled with a sense of failure. He hated himself for being weak and unable to help Arya. He hated the arrogance he had shown. He kept punching the ground, shouting, "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Princess!" Athena gently stepped forward, reached out her hand, and said, "Hero, please lift your head. I know you weren't recognized, but you didn't do anything wrong, Hero Ohangu." "You," she addressed the princess. Princess Athena said to him, "You were the one who brought Arya to the temple, right? Thank you for helping my childhood friend." Ohangu asked, "Childhood friend?" Athena stepped forward and took Ohangu's hand. "That's right." To respond to that, Princess Athena was extremely grateful that Ohangu had tried his best to beg the saintess to help Arya, her childhood friend. She stepped forward, smiled, and held Ohangu's hand. A magic circle appeared, shining brilliantly, beautiful, and the energy flowing out felt so soothing. She gently said, "Please become my second disciple." As soon as she finished speaking, the magic circle appeared right behind Ohangu. He turned around in surprise to look at that magical power. Ohangu, still in shock, muttered, "Second disciple. Magic." Princess Athena, after passing her magical power to him, politely bowed. "Then I wish you the best of luck, Hero Ohangu." Ohangu was still quite surprised by everything that had happened. Ohangu sat there petrified, stunned for a while. Princess Athena quickly transferred her magic back to him and hurried off, calling out, "Prince Ansus, wait for me!" Then both of them dashed away together, leaving Ohangu sitting there all by himself. He stood there blankly for a moment, wondering to himself if Princess Athena actually had a crush on him. Turns out Ohangu's delusions are out of this world, and with his face flushed red from shyness while spouting such embarrassing nonsense, he looks more like a total airhead. The gods watching from above had to admire his ability to read into things. A certain goddess of beauty gaped in shock, as did a certain male deity. A certain minor god of shellfish applauded this deduction of his. Giving him a 10 out of 10, Ohangu quickly jumped up full of energy and shouted, "All right, let's get started again. Let's go." Meanwhile, on Kang Hansu's side, the orcs were screaming in panic, running for their lives. They scattered in terror, their cries echoing everywhere. Almost all of them had already been knocked out cold by Kang Hansu's fists. But Kang Hansu had no intention of letting them escape. He quickly chased after them. One orc, seeing him get close, turned around to curse, "You pig!" But before it could finish its sentence, Kang Hansu kicked it straight in the mouth. It took the kick head-on, let out a sharp cry, and collapsed on the spot dead before it could even gasp. After finishing off the last one, Kang Hansu walked calmly, stepping over the bodies of the orcs. Another day, another group of thugs looking for trouble. These ones didn't call for backup like the others, but since this was an open plain, there was nowhere to hide anyway. Besides, Kang Hansu turned around to look at the goat that was bleeding, "Ba-ba!" walking toward the horses and chewing ravenously on the rope tied to the back of his horse. He hurriedly called out, "Hey, hey! That's not food." Kang Hansu looked at the horses and the goat, thinking gloomily that these things he got from the orcs were just too conspicuous. He walked over, grabbed the sleeve of Cosmos's robe, and held it out for the goat to chew on, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "Be a good boy. Instead of eating that, eat this." The goat chewed on this piece of fabric, looking rather annoyed. Cosmos, who had been tied to the horse's back, opened his eyes and said, "You seem awfully excited, don't you?" Seeing that Cosmos had fully recovered. Kang Hansu happily said, "Hey, look who's back among the living." Cosmos replied casually, "Of course I'm fine. I've recovered now. Untie me." After untying Cosmos, Kang Hansu asked in surprise, "You recovered really fast. Are you a lizard or something?" Cosmos said with disgust. "I especially don't like hearing that. Coming from your mouth, no less." Seeing the horns on Cosmos's head disappear, Kang Hansu asked in amazement, Are you using magic to hide your horns? Cosmos explained. It's just a simple disguise spell. Because we have to enter the city now. Kang Hansu looked a bit confused and asked, "Why didn't you do that from the start?" Cosmos patiently explained, "That might have slowed down my recovery. Plus, it would be even weirder if a lowly human who lost half his body was still alive." Cosmos looked down in a panic to see the goat trying its best to chew on the corner of his robe, and he shouted angrily, "What is this?" Seeing Cosmos say they were about to enter the city, Kang Hansu thought to himself, "I'm worried too, but at least this guy is smarter than the others. But he said it was the second closest city, right? So I thought we'd get there pretty quickly. I wonder how much further it is." Just then, the ground shook slightly. Kang Hansu focused and listened. Rumble, rumble. The carriage was speeding along, and behind them a group of orcs armed with weapons were in hot pursuit. One of them riding a horse brazenly demanding loot. "Ha ha 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 ha! Hand over all your stuff. Let's see what you've got, you girls." The old carriage driver saw they were about to catch up and whipped the horses to escape. One orc leading the pack held a blade and laughed wickedly as he said, "Ha ha ha, you can't escape us, pig, might as well just stop." The old man controlling the carriage turned and said something with a scowl, then immediately ordered the soldiers to turn around and protect the people inside, opening a path to escape. The soldiers followed the order and bravely rushed toward the orcs for a final stand. Seeing the soldiers trying to block them, the orcs cursed viciously, "You stupid, pathetic pigs! How dare you try to resist us? It's time for you to die." Against the strength of the orcs, the soldiers were nothing more than ants. They easily defeated the soldiers, and the sounds of agonizing screams and bones snapping echoed crunch crack. Kang Hansu stood quietly observing the situation from afar. Cosmos asked him, "Aren't you going to help them? Is that okay?" Kang Hansu replied coldly, "Just because you're a demon doesn't mean you'd want to save some decrepit old demon king, right?" Cosmos couldn't argue and turned his head away in anger. "That's deep. I guess I asked too much." Kang Hansu thought, "Just watch for now. Besides, I can at least take revenge for them later." Cosmos sighed and said, "You heartless brat." Kang Hansu thought to himself, "Maybe I am a bit heartless, but it can't be helped. I still can't believe the state of humanity in this world." After making quick work of the soldiers blocking their path, those orcs hopped on their horses and gave chase to the carriage. By now, the horses pulling the carriage were exhausted and couldn't pick up the pace, so the group decided to stop and face the orcs head-on. The orc leader strolled up, laughing, "Ha ha ha, already tired out, are we?" The remaining soldiers trembled, swords drawn to protect those in the carriage, shouting something at them. Perhaps they were intent on a suicide mission against the monsters. One orc took a deep sniff. He turned to the leader and said, "It smells like a female pig." The leader, not particularly interested, brushed it off. "Forget it, just gather the loot. It's best to just ignore this and get out of here as soon as possible." Suddenly, the carriage door opened. Even the orc leader was surprised. Stepping out were two girls who looked quite confident. They said something in a calm, matter-of-fact tone. There wasn't a hint of fear on their faces. The orcs roared, "Look at those female pigs!" The orc leader laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha! If you had just stayed put, we would have spared you. What a bunch of foolish pigs." The two girls didn't look afraid at all. One held a sword, the other brandished fire magic, both ready to fight. They said something and immediately lunged into battle. The girl in the pink dress summoned a massive fireball and blasted it straight at the orcs, and she didn't just stop at one. She kept casting, raining down countless fireballs on them, while the strong, long-haired girl leaped high into the air with an ice blade, slamming it straight into an orc's head. The orcs were stunned by the girl's fire and ice power, leaving them unable to react. The collision of fire and ice created a massive concussive explosion. It blew the orcs to smithereens. The surrounding soldiers cheered, overwhelmed with joy, feeling as if they had returned from the dead. Kang Hansu watched the situation unfold. He praised her. "She's pretty strong, huh? Is that magic?" Cosmos didn't seem pleased. He crossed his arms with a frustrated look and muttered, "That's nothing." Kang Hansu let his arms drop and said, "I don't like this." Gomput, confused, turned to him and asked, "Aren't you happy that innocent people survived?" Kang Hansu replied, "Of course that's not it." He scratched his head sheepishly. "I just think it's a real shame I didn't get the chance to avenge them." Gomput's expression darkened. "What's the difference?" After watching the two girls wipe out the orcs so quickly, Kang Hansu thought to himself, "These girls must be the elite of this world. I bet building connections with powerful people like them would make life in this fantasy world full of savages a lot easier." Kang Hansu came up with an idea. He took a deep breath, let out a long howl, and then shouted with all his might, "There's a beautiful female pig right here! Thanks to the hero's curse, the commoners there couldn't understand what he was screaming. Cosmos was startled by his sudden loud howling and asked, "What the hell are you doing?" Kang Hansu knew that, but these green orcs could understand perfectly well. Kang Hansu wore a devious, wicked smirk, thinking, "These farmed pigs? I'm going to do them all at once. Causing chaos seems pretty fun." On the girl's side, the one in the pink dress was generating flames, and the long-haired one was swinging her sword to finish off the remaining orcs when they suddenly felt the ground trembling. Something was charging toward them at high speed. Clouds of dust billowed white and thick. A massive horde of orcs riding bulls charged in. They were pushing and shoving each other, shouting loudly, "Ha ha ha! The female pigs are mine!" Don't kid yourself, they're mine. The whole group of people hearing the noise panicked and braced themselves. They were already struggling just to finish off the few orcs in front of them. They had been fighting hard and still hadn't managed to wipe them out. Their energy was fading. They panicked and started looking for a way to retreat safely. Cosmos stroked his chin in disbelief. "I can't believe it. He used the curse to summon more orcs." Kang Hansu saw the orcs gathering in large numbers and excitedly drew his blade. "Now's the time to rescue the ladies." Cosmos asked, "Isn't that the opposite of your original goal?" Kang Hansu said cheerfully while walking, "Plans change sometimes." Seeing that Kang Hansu wanted to save the humans, a god demanded, "You should just let them die." Kang Hansu calmly replied, "Just bear with me this once, outer god." The orcs surrounded the group, pushing the two girls into the center. They looked at them with lecherous, hungry eyes. "Hee hee hee, the female pigs are tired now. Ha ha ha, corner them." A particularly strong-looking orc spoke up. "The female pigs are mine, kill the rest, hee hee." The long-haired girl holding the sword trembled and said something. Cold sweat poured down her. Kang Hansu walked into the midst of the orcs, smiling, "Wow." He observed the two girls and calmly remarked, "They still look like they're doing fine. Maybe I should wait a bit longer." The orc leader saw Kang Hansu daring to stand on his level and looked annoyed. "What the hell is wrong with this skinny pig?" Kang Hansu looked at him, smiled, and introduced himself. "I'm just an apostle of the outer god passing through." The orc swung his sword high. I guessed as much. Seizing the chance to strike at Kang Hansu, he yelled, "I'll kill you first!" Kang Hansu, who had been sitting back and enjoying the show, saw the sword coming down and quickly leaped away. With a look of genuine surprise, Kang Hansu dodged their attacks with ease. "Ha! Why do you idiots love to run your mouths so much?" he taunted, dodging their wild slashes while they shrieked, "Die, you pig!" Seeing them go berserk and swing their swords chaotically, Kang Hansu got an idea. "Oh ho," he muttered, then jammed two fingers into an orc's nostrils. "Mind if I borrow these for a second?" The orc, completely confused by what was happening, just stood there staring blankly. Kang Hansu gripped its nose tight and swung the orc around. The orc went flying, crashing into its nearby comrades and knocking them over like bowling pins. Their shrill screams sounded like pigs being slaughtered. The two girls watched in terror as they backed away. Kang Hansu, realizing one move could take out all the enemies around him, felt a rush of excitement, but he also felt a bit disgusted. "Hey, this move is pretty fun, but it's a bit gross." He stared critically at his fingers, which were now covered in disgusting, reeking slime. The orcs, furious after that single strike, swarmed him, giving him no chance to breathe. They rained down a flurry of sword strikes, forcing him to scramble to dodge. "Whoa, hold on!" They just kept swinging more viciously, yelling, "Die, skinny pig!" But once Kang Hansu slipped out of their deadly strikes, he smirked confidently. "I can read your attacks as easily as opening a book." Heh. Cosmos, watching the battle from behind, suddenly shouted, "Watch out!" Kang Hansu turned his head to check. Huh! Just then an orc lunged at him with terrifying speed, faster than the eye could follow. "Die!" It roared, bringing its sword down straight toward him. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Cosmos, watching from a distance, screamed in panic, "You idiot! Why are you so careless? That's a blood orc!" Before he could finish the sentence, Kang Hansu punched the orc straight through its chest. Blood splattered everywhere as the orc collapsed instantly dead before it could even gasp. He turned back to Cosmos. "Honestly, even I was a bit startled when it suddenly lunged from behind." The two girls, having witnessed Kang Hansu's raw power, stared with wide eyes. Their jaws dropped, unable to close. He pulled his hand out of the orc and asked, "But what did you want me to be careful of?" Seeing Kang Hansu's innocent devil-may-care expression, Cosmos grew frustrated. He cursed under his breath, "You little brat." He dropped his shoulders and muttered, "Never mind, forget it." Kang Han-soo, seeing the orc's previous behavior, thought to himself, "Wait, why did that goblin go berserk all of a sudden? Is that some kind of skill similar to theirs? Dang it, maybe I shouldn't have killed it so fast. I could have observed that skill better." The surrounding soldiers looked almost moved to tears, chatting excitedly. Kang Han-soo only caught fragments of their words. Something saved us. Catching the keywords, he smirked arrogantly. Heh, not bad. It's nothing special, but I'm starting to pick up a few words. Looks like all those lessons from that idiot weren't a waste. The god following him suddenly smacked him on the head, annoyed that he wasn't acting like a proper outsider. The god demanded, "You should be fair." "Kill them all," Kang Han-soo thought helplessly. "Please just calm down." The orcs, seeing his power, were terrified. "That skinny pig is freaking strong." One orc, still clueless, shouted, "It's fine." He must be exhausted after fighting all this time. Just as it screamed and charged, an object flew through the air and slammed into its head with a loud thud. The orc clutched its head in agony, teeth gritting. "Ugh! What the—" Looking closer, it realized it was a severed goblin arm. It panicked. "That's a goblin's arm." Kang Han-soo walked toward them with a cheerful grin. "Okay, all right, little ones. Which one of you wants to turn red? Raise your hand." The orcs began to panic. "You skinny pig! How can you even talk to us?" Kang Han-soo smiled, but his expression was menacing. It felt like a demon had risen from the depths of hell. "Looks like the rest of you can't do that. Then goodbye." From the moment the sky was bright until the sun set, the last of the orcs finally fell. Cosmos stepped forward. "Everything all right?" Kang Han-soo looked at the pile of orc corpses stacked like a mountain. "What exactly is all right?" After processing Cosmos's question, he replied, "I'm still feeling great, that's for sure." Cosmos pointed coldly toward the group of people from earlier. "Now you look over there." Kang Han-soo looked at their expressions. The group wasn't looking as cheerful as they were this morning. Instead, they were looking at him with terror and extreme caution. Kang Han-soo scratched his chin sheepishly and said to Cosmos, "It seems I might have shown off my power a little too much. You should do something about it." Cosmos, seeing Kang Han-soo push the task onto him, yelled in anger, "What?" But he still stepped forward, muttering under his breath, "Damn it!" Cosmos stood before the group and introduced them politely. "I am the mage Cosmos, and this is the swordsman Kang Han-soo. You can probably guess from his name that my friend doesn't speak your language." The soldiers, seeing Kang Han-soo smiling at them in a friendly manner, lowered their guard. Cosmos looked at Kang Han-soo's face and thought, "This guy is a total pro. He's not even blushing or sweating." Suddenly, the girl in the dress pointed at Kang Han-soo and said something fearfully. Cosmos smiled happily and explained, "As the young lady correctly pointed out, he does indeed have the hero's curse. If you look closely, he also possesses the C-rank elf's blessing. Because you are destined to be friends with the elves, your lifespan and youth will be extended, and you will receive all the favored effects and commentary from the elven race. It's amplified many times over. It's an incredible symbol of trust, considering that even someone who marries into the elf tribe only gets an E rank at best." Kang Han-soo covered his mouth and muttered, "Looks like this elf blessing is actually pretty useful to me. I never realized that before." But as Kang Han-soo turned away, he suddenly got angry, remembering something. "Wait a minute. This whole damn misunderstanding is all that goddess's fault." The girl in the pink dress looked apologetic, said something to Kang Han-soo, and then looked up with sparkling eyes. Cosmos explained, "She says she's really sorry for doubting the person who saved her." At night, by the flickering campfire, Kang Han-soo sat alone, quietly reflecting on what had happened regarding this cheat-like blessing. It has its pros, but a huge con is that all the class rankings have become normal. "All these rankings," he muttered. "It's been a while since I've actually had to do anything." As he sat there dazed, the long-haired girl walked over and called his name. Kang Han-soo turned his head, looking confused because he didn't know what she wanted. He guessed her name was Julia. She was a noble lady studying at the prestigious fantasy academy. Kang Han-soo felt a bit awkward. "This is going to be tough. My damn translator is asleep." Seeing the girl sitting far away from him, Kang Han-soo thought, Why did she say my name and then sit so far away? Is she trying to chase me off?" Suddenly, the girl called his name Kang Han-soo and said something else that made him jump. He asked back. Why was the temple so noisy early in the morning? Contrary to its usual dignified and pious atmosphere, Ohangu stood in front of the temple gate shouting, "Why won't you let me in?" The soldier guarding the entrance said coldly, "You cannot enter." Ohangu angrily retorted, "I'm a hero too." Suddenly a sarcastic voice rang out, "You mean a failed hero?" Ohangu was quite surprised. What? A scholar walked out of the temple and said calmly, "You are a hero who has left the temple because you lost your sponsorship rights. You have 3 choices." Ohangu, still not understanding what was happening, asked, "What choices?" The scholar said coldly, "1, accept private funding and give up. In this case, you cannot call yourself a hero anymore. If you do even once, the death penalty will be carried out." Ohangu's face turned pale with fear. "The death penalty." The scholar held up 2 fingers and continued, "To return to training, but you must keep going until we see results, otherwise you lose your funding." Ohangu thought to himself, "No way. If I choose that, I'll just get mocked by everyone else." He imagined his classmates gathering around to laugh at him, and he just wanted to collapse. Worried, Ohangu asked, "What about the 3rd choice?" The scholar said, 3. Depend entirely on the temple. We will arrange for you to marry a noble until you retire, but you will not be allowed to step outside the temple until you die. Ohangu imagined himself having to marry a noble and being stuck in the temple until death. He quickly made his choice. I'll pick number 1, he thought. No matter what, I can't let myself live in a prison like that. The scholar handed him a scroll and said coldly, "All right, sign here." Ohangu was surprised. The man said dismissively, "It's just a contract." Ohangu picked up the scroll to look at it and asked, "Why do we need a contract?" The scholar looked rather impatient. "Because we can't have a hero who has left the temple. It's ruining the reputation of other heroes. Think of it as a kind of insurance." The old man signaled his subordinate to bring a box and opened it directly. Inside were treasures, gold coins, some gemstones, the private funds he had mentioned earlier, and a new ID card to replace his hero card. Ohangu saw a chest of sparkling gold coins, and was suddenly happy yet a bit surprised. "What? This is completely different from the novels," the scholar said to Ohangu. "Excuse me." Ohangu quickly explained, I was just mumbling, don't mind me." Ohangu hugged the chest of money and happily agreed. In fantasy novels, kingdoms or temples that abandon the main character are usually seen as the villains. But what is this kindness? Ohangu happily asked. "It's up to me how I use the money, right?" The scholar confirmed, "Yes, that's right." Ohangu said, "Thank you." He happily walked out of the temple thinking, meeting a noblewoman is quite attractive, but marriage, and it's like the end of my harem life. The path I'm headed toward is completely different. It's the path of a commander. Ohangu happily said as he headed to the slave market while the young god king held popcorn and followed his friend. Meanwhile, in the city center where the statue of the saintess stood, an attendant approached her in the temple and whispered, "Saintess, the hero Ohangu has abandoned his mission." Hearing the attendant's report, the saintess felt quite sad, thinking, we might lose even with more heroes in the future. Even if we don't lose anymore, it will still be very troublesome. There are 2 saintesses on the Fantasia continent, but if a real battle happens, I'll have to solve it myself. The saintess asked the attendant, "After I returned from my trip to the Elf Kingdom, I heard the number of hyenas had dropped significantly." The attendant respectfully reported, "Yes, that's right. There are rumors that a group of unknown knights did it." The saintess was quite surprised. She turned and asked, "A group of unknown knights killed that many hyenas? Are you sure?" The attendant reported it seems to be a small group of elites trained in swordsmanship. The saintess said, finding it hard to believe, "I see. They must have miscounted the number of hyenas. There was even a tribe hoping the hyenas would just get out of the forest, but you're saying they're elites. But I don't think this could have been done by knights." The attendant closed her eyes, thinking of a conclusion that wasn't very good in that case. Don't tell me the demon lord the saintess felt a bad premonition as soon as she heard the report. The attendant, realizing she had spoken out of turn, hurriedly begged for forgiveness. "I'm sorry, I just let it slip." The saintess pondered her instructions. Drawing conclusions too quickly was dangerous, but this crisis was certainly on par with the arrival of the demon lord. Investigate whether the demon lord is involved. The attendant received the order and immediately went to investigate. Understanding this, the saintess stood there deep in thought. This is the far west, and the demon lord is mostly in the far east. Just then, the 2 girls stepped down. Kang Han-su looked at them and remarked, "Oh, they're here." All the young gentlemen in the diner turned to admire the beauty of the pair. The 2 ladies, dressed in elegant, polished attire, walked down to greet them. Gongmot hurried over and spoke politely. "We just arrived as well, so there's no need to be shy," he added. Kang Han-su looked on with a sneer, thinking to himself, What kind of nonsense is this demon spewing? We've been waiting for a while now. The deity standing behind him also seemed quite annoyed by his attitude. Kang Han-su urged Gongmot, "Whatever, just tell her to hurry up so we can go eat." Cosmos chuckled and spoke. "I know a restaurant you ladies will love. We haven't had a proper meal since the long journey, so why don't we eat first?" The two girls happily said something in return. This caused Cosmos's face to darken. He turned back and said, "She said a meal sounds fine, but she wants to go to the place you wanted to visit first." Kang Han-su laughed and said, "Ha ha." Cosmos told her, "I want to go eat too." Cosmos helplessly crawled into a corner muttering, "The discrimination is real. Whether human or demon, everyone only cares about power." Kang Han-su immediately thought, so there are some decent citizens in this fantasy world after all. The deity behind him glared at him with cold, gloomy eyes. Meanwhile, over at Oh Han-gu's side, after carrying a chest of money out of the temple, he stood in front of the slave market entrance, still in complete shock. No way! How can a slave market be out in the open like this? The massive gate to the slave market sat right near the city center, and more importantly, the foot traffic was incredibly heavy. He glanced over and saw a slave with an extremely solid build. He stood there silently while others gossiped, "Oh, look at that physique, he looks perfect to be an errand boy. Yeah, he looks really strong." The slave stood still with a sorrowful expression, causing the buyer to snap, "Hey, say something." Down the street, a large man was shouting, "Walk properly, you useless slave! You're going back inside to be re-educated?" Oh, Han-gu watched them for a moment, decided not to care anymore, and said to himself, "Let's go, it's time for that." Some god had opened a betting pool. A reckless betting deity had accepted a wager from another god. Oh Han-gu walked into the detention camp, walking for quite a while without finding anything to his liking. To his surprise, there were no good slaves at all. As he was wandering around searching, a voice rang out, "Huh, is that you, Han-gu?" Oh Han-gu realized it was a classmate. He asked, "You are?" The guy was quite friendly, asking, "Did you come here to buy slaves too?" Oh Han-gu asked suspiciously, thinking, "How did this guy end up here?" He replied vaguely, something like that. "Who is this big guy?" The classmate immediately said, "Looks like we have the same idea. You aren't happy about the training and left after getting paid right." Oh Han-gu immediately became guarded and said, "That's a secret." He thought to himself, "Training. Does this guy not know?" "I left on the first day." The classmate hurriedly laughed. "Ha ha, calm down. We should get closer since we're in the same boat. I'll even share some useful information with you." Oh Han-gu asked back, "Useful information?" The classmate gestured with his chin toward the manager over there. "He's the manager. If he finds out you're a hero, he'll introduce you to the best slaves that aren't on display here." Oh Han-gu jumped and shouted, "What? Are you crazy if you identify yourself as a hero?" The classmate calmly replied, "Hey, you can't stop someone from peeking at your status window, can you? So technically you aren't violating that agreement." Oh Han-gu said, "You're right," while thinking, "Wait, people can peek at other people's status windows?" To think the contract had such a massive loophole. The classmate happily asked, "Anyway, have you decided which slave to buy yet?" Oh Han-gu said guardedly, "I'm not telling you." He thought, why is this guy acting so friendly when we never even spoke back on Earth? Oh Han-gu hurriedly avoided him and turned away. "If you want to show off your slaves later, then come to the inn at the East Gate." Oh Han-gu said, "Sure." Seeing Oh Han-gu leave, the guy watched him with a sinister expression, muttering, "That guy is surprisingly careful, even though I played my part quite well." The shop manager, with a bored look on his face, was sitting with his chin in his hand smoking. When he heard someone say, "Excuse me," he replied with a tired tone, Yeah. I'm busy, so maybe next time." The customer stepped forward, slammed the table, and shouted, "I'm here to buy a slave!" The manager was startled, his eyes widening as he looked at him. A screen appeared displaying the customer's information, name Oh Han-gu, Level 1, Blessing Hero, Special Trait F, Special Skill Insight, Dividend 3.01. The manager's eyes went round as he gasped, "A hero." Then, the manager broke into a bright smile and warmly welcomed his honored guest. "Welcome, legendary hero." Then he happily began his sales pitch. "So what kind of slave would you like? Would you like a warrior who can fight alongside you?" The manager was inwardly overjoyed. That hero kid from before had plenty of money, too. Today is definitely my lucky day. Oh Han-gu slammed his hand on the table once more and shouted, "A powerful female warrior!" The store manager stammered, A powerful female warrior." Oh Han-gu asked hesitantly, Do you not have any in stock?" The manager quickly turned around and shouted to correct him, "No! In fact, we do have a female warrior who meets your requirements." He stood in front of a strange door. He smiled and said to Ohangu, "Follow me." Ohangu exclaimed in awe, "Whoa!" The manager continued, "We don't show this item to just anyone, but you are an exception hero." A blinding light shone from the gap in the door, making Ohangu close his eyes. The sight before him left him incredibly surprised. He thought to himself, "Is this the outside? Is this where they dress up slaves for display?" Standing in front of a slave with bulging muscles, the manager turned and asked, "Now then, hero, what do you think of this slave?" Ohangu replied excitedly, "Let me see." Then he looked her over from her muscles to her eyes. The manager happily introduced the slave's background. She is a female bandit who brazenly looted the northern part of the Night Kingdom, although she was captured as a slave after being betrayed by her underlings. Ohangu suddenly felt a chill down his spine and coughed dryly. He shuddered and froze when he heard the man continue. "She has extraordinary strength, so strong that she can use an axe usually held with two hands with just one." The manager, with a somewhat dissatisfied look, turned to the female slave. "You should show the customer your status window." A screen appeared with the information name, Mercy Level 17, Blessing Mercenary B Warrior, E, Riding E, Artistry F, Curse of the Slave F. The manager explained, "The curse of the slave applies to those who have sworn to the gods to give up all their rights." The system displayed a note, "The slave has renounced all rights. The cursed person will gain the owned trait. Like property, if they disobey the master, they will suffer corresponding pain." The manager reminded him, "As long as your commands are clear enough, they will not be able to betray you." Ohangu was so flustered he broke into a cold sweat and replied, Seeing him hesitate, the manager laughed out loud and said, "Don't worry about the price. I don't intend to profit from a hero." Ohangu quickly replied, "That's not it." He confusedly scratched his head and explained, "I want a strong and slender female warrior." The manager exclaimed, "A slender female warrior." He stroked his chin and reasoned with a thoughtful look. "Since you already have a blessing from magic, don't you need a shield to protect you while you cast spells?" Ohangu smiled and replied, "You're not wrong, but can't I choose for myself?" And he thought to himself, "I'm pretty sure my special blessing will make things work out somehow." The manager was also very happy to agree with him. "All right, go ahead. Today is a clear day, perfect for going for a walk outside." After choosing for a while, Ohangu shouted, "I finished choosing." The manager heard that, turned back, and exclaimed, "You're back early." The manager was a bit surprised and laughed, exclaiming, "You chose 3. You seem to be quite a crafty one." Then he continued, "Actually, they are all slender women, but still stronger than you." A screen appeared with the information of the red-haired female slave named Lusa Level 6 Blessing Charm F. Curse of the Slave F. Standing in front of the 3 female slaves, the manager tore up the contract paper while saying, "Now, Sarakana Lusa, I will erase all the orders given to you." Then he smiled and said, "From now on, Hero Ohangu will be your new master." The manager turned to report to Ohangu, "Because I have destroyed my contract. The transfer of the master contract is complete. Now give them clear orders, because there are times when slaves kill or run away from their masters." Ohangu handed the manager a large bag of money and said, "I will keep that in mind." He thought to himself, "They will never betray me because I will love them after this." He turned back and called the 3 girls with an excited tone, "Sarakana Lusa, follow me. First of all, let's buy some weapons." They agreed one by one with slightly surprised and confused looks. "Yes, master, as you wish." Ohangu saw that and covered his mouth to laugh. "Hey, hey, hey!" The system sent continuous notifications. An improper betting god continued to laugh slyly. A malicious god was looking for popcorn. On this side, Kang Hansu was miserable. He was drenched in sweat and muttered, "Damn it." He thought to himself that eating, drinking, and going to the mercenary guild were all fine. Looking at the incomprehensible symbols on the paper, Kang Hansu wept silently. "To think I'm stuck with something like this." He gritted his teeth and muttered, "Should I really learn to write?" And thought to himself, "I need a signature to register for the mercenary guild. I didn't foresee that." He suddenly frowned and glanced forward. Before him was a beautiful girl looking at him and smiling brightly. Kang Hansu screamed, "Damn it, and I can't even ask to sign for me." Cosmos approached and said with a sarcastic tone, "No need to be ashamed. Many mercenaries can't write their own names, you know." Kang Hansu shouted angrily, "Shut up!" Cosmos pushed a piece of paper toward Kang Hansu with 3 symbols spelling his name and said, "Here, copy this." Kang Han-soo leaned over and whispered, "You say that like it is easy." Maybe because of the curse, even copying is difficult. 10 minutes later, Kang Han-soo held the paper high and happily shouted, "Let's go, I did it!" On the paper was his name, though it wasn't beautiful, he had done it. Cosmos suddenly covered her mouth. A sly smile appeared on her face, and she thought to herself, "Dummy." She lowered her head and laughed until she was shaking, making him uncomfortable as he turned to ask, "What?" The blonde girl took the paper and said, "I will complete your registration procedure." The screen in front of him suddenly lit up, making him a bit startled. The screen showed the information, name Kang Han-soo. Granted an exotic blessing called Mercenary's Curse Hero Rank D Level 5.66. He shouted, "That's a mercenary's blessing and it's D rank to boot." Cosmos glanced over, grinning as he said, "Getting a long-term mercenary rank on your very first evaluation, you should thank those two ladies over there." Looking at the two beautiful women in front of him, having already verified his skills against their own mercenary ranks, Kang Han-soo replied with a nonchalant tone. "Well, tell them I said thanks." Cosmos barked back in a rage. "You jerk, at least say it yourself." He replied with an indifferent face, "I would if I could." Cosmos gestured dismissively and said, "Fine, then I guess I should buy you a children's picture book." Kang Han-soo retorted angrily, "Hey, you jerk, stop treating me like a kid." Lisa walked over, handed Kang Han-soo a piece of paper and said something in a local dialect that he didn't understand, causing him to blurt out, "Huh, what's this?" Cosmos hurriedly explained, "You should read it. It's your first mission, a subjugation quest." He continued, "It's a simple mission aimed at suppressing the orcs, breeding and reducing their numbers. Your reward will be decided by the number of orc heads you bring back." Kang Han-soo responded excitedly, "Nice quest." He smirked, thinking to himself. Plus, he stared at them, thinking he already had these beautiful ladies here as bait. The two girls were absolutely bewildered by his attitude. A god appeared, placing a hand on his shoulder and leaning in close. Then a system notification popped up. A god is wondering if there are any more massacres. Without hesitation, he answered immediately, "Of course not." Kang Han-soo suddenly smiled and spoke. This time, the system reported a god was curious. He thought blissfully, "It's going to be total annihilation under the clear blue sky." Someone shouted, calling for Julia, and she replied. This was the sight of a sword rushing in at the speed of light. Julia shouted as she attacked, showing intense determination as the beast was sent flying. It gritted its teeth in rage, growling as it lunged forward, grabbing Julia's face and ruthlessly slamming her into the ground. Julia, shaking in pain, looked up as a familiar sound echoed. Julia lowered her head. The beast turned in surprise, suddenly attacked, and fell backward. Seeing her pained expression, Lisa ran over worriedly and asked, "Are you okay?" Julia, her face covered in grime, smiled and replied, "Yeah, you saved me." Lisa reminded her with a serious expression, "Don't push yourself so hard. Do you even know how many more are ahead?" Julia calmly reassured her friend, "It's fine. I can handle that many." The beast had awakened. It stood up, clutching its head and cursing, "You stupid pigs!" Lisa gasped in worry. "Damn, was my magic not strong enough?" The beast went berserk, shouting, "I'll kill you!" Another beast behind it was backing away. The two beasts collided with a violent, painful impact. Spitting blood, seeing the two beasts lying on top of each other, Julia trembled, saying, Is it not dead yet?" Lisa was stunned by what was happening before her eyes and thought to herself. She stepped forward to pat Julia's shoulder in comfort, continuing to think about how she had met all kinds of people. Daughters of counts, kings, merchants, knights, mercenaries, and even saints. She stared intently at Kang Han-soo and whispered in awe. But none of them stood out like Kang Han-soo, who was calmly slaughtering the orcs, accompanied by the image of him and the screen. A notification appeared. Fairy race hero Kang Han-soo is confidently fighting the orc beasts. The beast clutched its neck in pain as blood sprayed out. Lisa thought to herself, even though he carries the hero's curse that makes everyone around him wonder if he's a demon. He also received the fairy race's blessing, one of the most convincing proofs that he is not a demon. The orc beast saw him and backed away in fear. Kang Han-soo only needed a few strikes to take them down. Lisa glanced at Julia and said in confusion, We should try harder too." She thought he really is a very strange person. On this side, Kang Han-soo seemed very excited about the battle with the orc beasts. He jumped onto them as they were fleeing in terror. Seeing this, Lisa clenched her trembling hands and blurted out, "Please, enough." Lisa, drenched in sweat, squeezed her eyes shut and shouted with all her might, "Please, can we take a break for a moment?" Kang Han-soo heard her and turned around in surprise. Cosmos walked over and spoke in a helpless tone. "Let me talk to that blockhead, our friend, that we should rest for a while." Lisa replied, "Please do," and thanked him. Then she gently sat down and let out a sigh. She thought to herself, what is wrong with his stamina? Lisa stared at Kang Han-soo and marveled. He really wasn't exaggerating about wiping out all the orcs in this area. And he didn't even break a sweat. Just then, a loud voice called out for Lisa, making her jump. Julia walked up and asked, "Are you tired?" She was a bit surprised that he asked to rest first. Lisa was startled, whispering, "You scared me, Julia." Then she turned and explained, "I said it for your sake." "Watching your legs shaking like that looked hilarious." Julia, drenched in sweat, shouted, "That's not fair. That's just because you're wearing a skirt." Lisa felt very satisfied hearing that. Julia suddenly spoke up with a look of surprise. "But this guy Han-soo is actually amazing," Lisa agreed, replying, "That's true, even though it's thanks to his blessing." Before she could finish her sentence, Julia said, "I mean his ability." Lisa gasped, "Ability?" Julia suddenly felt a chill and exclaimed, "Lisa? Maybe because you're a mage you can't see it. His swordsmanship is just insane. How do I explain it?" "It's hard to put into words." Julia explained, "He uses a dangerous and unstable sword technique. Even a tiny mistake could destroy his own body, yet he uses that fighting style every single day." Lisa's eyes went wide as she asked, "What is that even possible?" Julia hesitated, answering that she wasn't sure, adding that she had also been called a genius when she was little. Then she suddenly shouted, "Ah, he'll definitely be able to explain it." "Finally we get a break," they exclaimed in surprise, saying, "Huh? What's that?" when they saw him pull out a children's picture book for learning common vocabulary. Kang Han-soo struggled to read the words human, being, gui, chaoi. Seeing this, they marveled. "Ah, he's actually studying?" They cried out, "Save me, I'm sorry, please spare me. You must be tired of living, huh?" "I was wrong, that hurts like hell, please take it easy on me, stop." Julia smirked and said, "It's strange he only pronounces a few specific words correctly." Lisa laughed and replied, "You're right." Julia turned, winked, and said, "Oh, right, I just hit level 15. Lisa screamed, "Seriously?" Then she thought to herself, the gap is just getting wider and wider. The screen displayed student information. You will receive a large amount of experience points as a reward every time you successfully complete a semester. All students are at the God tier level. Fairy and it are always hostile toward each other in this system. The higher your level, the easier it is to rank up, and the higher your rank, the much easier it becomes to reach even higher tiers. But if your rank drops, it means you'll lose all those privileges. Julia gazed into the distance with a determined look and said, "Lisa, this time I'm aiming for rank B." Lisa was stunned and shrieked, "What rank B? What if you push yourself too hard and get hurt?" Julia turned, smiled, and replied, "Don't worry. If it were just the two of us, it would be tough, but this time it'll be fine." She explained, "He may look like he's only focused on hunting, but he's actually very concerned about our safety." Lisa's cheeks flushed red as she stared at Julia, resting her chin in her hands. "I thought you said you weren't interested in guys, but you've been observing him so closely." Julia grew shy and quickly shouted to correct her, "No, that's not it. Observing the movements of others is essential for a swordsman like me." After practicing for a while, Kang Han-soo closed his book and shouted, "Ge ga yihoi!" Julia and Lisa panicked and replied one after another, "Is it time already? Please give it a little more thought." Seeing their reaction, Kang Han-soo rested his chin in his hand, deep in thought. After a moment, he shouted, "Gay, you guys are healthy, so dihoi!" His over-the-top reaction left everyone stunned. Lisa thought to herself, as a mage and a scholar, this guy is both oblivious and impulsive, yet he's also very hard to read. Kang Han-soo was saying something with a serious expression. Lisa thought, he really knows how to pique my curiosity. Kang Han-soo shouted again, "Gai gai ye!" They sighed helplessly and yelled back, "Yes, yes, we're coming." "Yes, yes, we're coming," Lisa thought to herself. "But for now, I guess I have to teach him how to pronounce things first."